Introduce the crew. We got Mr. Trev Smooth, Sports Bay, and Press B, Real Dope, SMS Swinging Podcast, and White, me, myself, Lapeef J.I. Welcome to Lapeef Let's Talk. What's going on? What's going on, family? How y'all doing?
Shit, been trying to perfect the hype me up dance. I'm gonna do that shit one of these days. I'm going. Yeah, I got my whole team ready and everything, Joe.
All right,
I'll snap it out like you man.
All right, man. Get the cam ready. Get the cam ready for you, man. It's good to see you guys, man. As you guys come in, hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. What's going on, Dale Matthews? Christopher Matthews, how you doing? Champ Talk Reactions. Frenchie K757, also remember what's going on to you. Marcus Evans, what's good, brother? If you're catching us on the replay, hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. How y'all doing on this lovely Thursday? I know you're trying to get this dance going. What about you, ladies and gents?
Doing well. Trying to come off the high of graduation as Miss Empress B. A little tired, but you guys are giving us energy in life tonight. So happy to be here.
All right.
Well, see, that's why I was doing a hype me up dance for your graduation.
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments as Sports Bay, coming off of the high from graduation. It's Friday Eve, Friday Junior, so I'm happy about that too. Happy to be here.
All right, everybody always look forward to that Friday coming. What's going on?
I'm excited. The Bears finally about to get a new stadium. It's going to drop the schedule. God damn it, P. Ray.
P. Ray in them streets.
She is dogging it too.
Right.
That's the smile when you in Chicago West Side. It just feel good everywhere you go because the earth is your turf. You feel.
Nothing wrong with
that. They call that smiles per gallon.
All right. What's going on, Real Dope? How you doing, sir? I can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. Might be having that same issue we did before. Using your phone or using regular camera? All right.
And they keeping it on the lakefront.
Are they?
Yep.
It just got approved?
Yep. They saying they're gonna be tearing down Soldier Field.
When?
After they finish the stadium, because they're gonna still play in it until 2028.
Okay, gotcha. And they're gonna build it where? Where they building it?
South of in that south lot. So right next to where Soldier Field at.
Oh, okay.
You ain't never gonna see it.
Shit, I am. Shit, I'm going to the very last Soldier Field game. I'm going to the very first home opener.
No, yeah, all right, folks.
And you going too.
All right. Again, it's good to see you guys, man. We're going to go ahead and get this show started. Hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we're going to go ahead and kick it off with this main topic. Then on the back end, we'll talk a little bit of Cassie and Tory Lanez. Sounds like a plan?
Cool with me.
All right. So I was sent this question, which I thought would make an interesting topic. I'm sure that's the reason why she sent it to me. But she was asking this to single women, but we're going to have an open discussion with everyone. But she said, do you ever think about the value that you can add to a man's life for him? Or is it more about the value that he can add to your life for you? Which brings us to the, do women add value to men or just expect it? So that's going to be the discussion for the main topic, which we're about to get into right now. Do you ever think about the value that you can add to a man's life, or is it about the value he can add to your life?
I can go first. Since
Well,
I
haven't asked the question yet, P. Ray. I was just doing the intro. You eager? We're gonna go to you first. Seeing how eager you are. All right, so let's start it off with this. What does it mean to add value to someone's life in a relationship? Is it about emotional support, physical attraction, financial help, or something else? Go ahead, P. Ray.
You have to be able to elevate them in the society. That's how I function. In a way, not in a way. I am a Chicago socialite and national influencer. So I'm always looking for ways that somebody can help elevate me in the current situation that I'm in. And that could be through a plethora of ways. You know, everybody doesn't come with the same type of value. But it's about what I need at that time. Like when I first was getting started, my partner at the time gave me a whole lot of access that I wouldn't necessarily have been able to get without him. However, the partner that I have now gives me a lot more emotional support because I'm more stable in the position that I want to be in. So it's all about, you know, how you're going to elevate that person. I think that both parties needs to be elevating each other. It's not like, but for me, I don't go into a relationship looking to elevate my man because he has to already be ready when I show up.
That's already be ready. Okay. All right. What about you, Miss Sportscom? What does it mean to add value to someone's life and relationship? Is it about emotional support, physical attraction, financial help, or something else?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of P. Ray's point, I think the elevation point is definitely important. I think for a man to truly know who he is or the direction that he's going in, it truly helps me as a woman. I think P. Ray touched on a really important part in terms of where your position is in life, in terms of your own professional development. I know for me, currently have just graduated with my PhD. I think a man needs to be truly secure within himself, but also be able to elevate me, add to my peace, not to be a stressor, but also to be in a space of being willing to be vulnerable with me and let me learn his turnoffs and what he likes. So I think also being a communication practitioner, I think knowing how to communicate clearly, and if you don't know my love language of communication, ask me, understand me, fill me out. Being silence or being quiet, it doesn't help the situation. So I think just adding to peace, knowing who you are, but also being willing to be vulnerable and say, look, I'm still growing in this space. It truly helps.
All right. Go ahead, Real Dope. It's on you, man. What does it mean to add value to someone's life and relationship?
For me, it's any way that you can add value. It's so many different parts and aspects of life in general. Doesn't have to like just be financially. Doesn't have to be, you know, simply something that's tangible. It could be spiritually. You know, it's, you know, it could be helping somebody find God. You know, that's not really my lane, but there's so many ways that somebody can add value to your life. So that's kind of my answer.
I bet. Go ahead, Sweeney. It's on you, brother. What does it mean to add value to someone's life and relationship?
Mm. I guess if I was to look at it, I guess it's doing whatever's necessary to make sure the relationship works. Being 100% all in. Um, you don't withhold anything; they don't withhold anything. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be a situation where you say, "Well, this is all I'm only offering this just in case of this." That's pretty much how I look at it. You all in, 100%.
All right, on you, Miss Wife School. What does it mean to add value to someone's life and relationship? Is it about emotional support, physical attraction, financial help, or something else?
Well, good evening, everyone. I believe adding value to a relationship is just two people coming together to serve one another. And when you serve, you can serve financially, you can serve physically, you can serve spiritually, you can serve emotionally. And just being willing to learn that person to the best of your knowledge and ability and to serve them. And that's the best that we can really do at the end of the day. And if you're willing to take it into marriage and also to the end of your both of your lives together, you're just basically serving one another and just being open constantly and serving each other through the hard times, the good times, and just learning one another. Lots of forgiveness, lots of serving, lots of love. That's about it.
All right, go ahead, Trev.
So I think it's different levels to it. Men and women could both participate in the same way, but it boils down to the word that I mentioned a lot is consideration. In the beginning phases, you have to learn what the person is, learn how they are, and you have to be intentional about it. Sometimes you just got to listen and you watch. You could even ask a person, but it's extremely difficult for someone to articulate their weaknesses, at least the average person. So it's up to you to even find those, and not for you to bring it out and hold it against them, but to strengthen them. So that real true yin and a yang is a balance between two people, right? And as it is, it's almost like if you're a productive person, you're thinking of ways to improve yourself. Now, if you are with the person who you truly do have love for, and that's someone that you really want to build with, then that's an extension of you. So at a certain point, you understand that you building them is building you, because you're a unit. I'll leave it there for now.
All right. Go ahead, Empress B. What does it mean to add value to someone's life and relationship for you?
So number one, I think that it should be a partnered approach, and we should be looking at things from a holistic purview. So touching on the financial growth, spiritual growth, moral support, all of those things. I think that when you are adding value in a relationship, you should identify your partner's strengths and their weaknesses and understand how you can help them fill those weaknesses or help them grow or get better. It definitely should not be a tit for tat thing where you all are in competition or you're being domineering or demeaning your partner because they're lacking in certain areas. It should be a constant, continued partnered approach and saying, where you're weak, I'm strong, and vice versa. So that's what I was saying.
All right. Go ahead, M. White.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything everybody said on the panel. Trev, he kind of dove into the sentiment that I was thinking of a little bit more. Like when I often say like I'm a manipulator or whatever, when I'm saying that, what I mean is the thing that you feel weak about, I'm gonna try and manipulate your confidence to rise to a level where you feel great, or the goal you're trying to reach, or just something that you feel weak in. I'm gonna try and make a space and clear an area where you progress and can accomplish things in a way where you don't feel hindered, where you feel supported and celebrated, right? So just in a very vague sense, it's like most people see the rainbow. I'm trying to help you walk to the end and get the pot of gold. You feel?
All right, go ahead, Dara.
Adding value in a relationship means giving the other person what they need, not what you think they should want. For men, we in a relationships are already adding value by default. We provide, we protect, and we carry the burden of responsibility. But for a woman to add value, she has to find out what that man needs and then deliver it. That means asking him, listening to him, and aligning with him. Now, this is, of course, subjective to the men you're dealing with at that moment. Not all men. Every man has different guidelines or whatever, or a perspective on his purpose in his life and what he expects from a woman. And if she refuses to adjust, she's not valuable. She's a liability. And unfortunately, love is not enough. If you want marriage, you have to be useful to his mission, period.
All right. Got a question that I'm going to pose to the panel. And some of you guys may have touched on this in your responses. If you do, then feel free to pass the mic. But it's popcorn style. I'll call on the first person to answer, and then feel free to fill in. If you got a question that you want to ask somebody, then you may do so as well. But do you ever think about the value you bring to a man's life, or is your focus usually on what he can do for you? And for the men, do you ever think women consider the value they add to your life? And I'm going to go with you, Real Dope. So that question for you would be, do you ever think women consider the value they add to your life?
I think it honestly depends on the type of woman that you date and the type of woman that you go for. Because I can look on one hand where a lot of the women that I know are at an extreme. A lot of women that I know of or know at extreme value to men's lives. When I give you an example, like I know a lot of women who tell me about they deal with a guy who has children, and they're actually physically, taking the steps to make sure you schedule visits. Like, hey, I'm trying to, maybe you can see a kid on this day. Talking to the mom, trying to get them over there, trying to help them with paperwork, just like thinking of ways that they can kind of help ease his situation. But then on the other hand, I know a lot of typically conventionally beautiful women have never actually had to be a good partner. So I guess it really depends on the type of women that you date and what you look for in women.
All right. Go ahead, Sportscom. That question for the women that I had is, do you ever think about the value you bring to a man's life, or is your focus usually on what he can do for you?
I think it's a little bit of both for me. I think, again, it really depends upon the woman that you're dating. I know for me, I always want to think about, I don't want to say serve, but how can I make my man's life a little bit easier, especially my Black man, because they're up against the wall, they're up against the world, right? I don't want to be a stressor in his life, but I always think about myself. I'm going through things, I work, I go through life's challenges as a Black woman, going up against these white systems. So I always think about, how can he make my life a little bit easier, a little bit smoother? How can he add to my peace, to put a smile on my face? Because we all go through ups and downs. None of us are perfect. But I think that you do have some women that are very selfish. It's about them. They never take into consideration what their man is going through, or asking them, how has your day been? So I think for me, it's a little bit of both for me. I want to make sure that I'm there for my man, but I also want to make sure that he's also there for me. And I don't have to constantly ask, right? But of course, we have to learn each other. We have each other's flaws, but we have to learn how we navigate through it, because each person is different and each relationship is different.
You don't mind if I ask
So,
Sportscom a question?
I had a question too. Go ahead, bro.
What,
I
what
got
was,
next.
what was your issue with the word serve?
Never mind. That was my question.
I knew somebody was going to ask
I
me
was
that.
curious.
I mean, there's no problem with serving your man, but in all honesty, in all reality, people take serving, that word, that term, that meaning differently, right?
Okay.
So no, I mean, of course, like I always say, and my girlfriends, Empress B is one of my best girlfriends, and I know I have some friends watching now. I'm not a man. I don't want to lead. I want you to lead. I want you to be the alpha, but I shouldn't have to ask you to do that. It's only one of us that bleeds every month. So if you're telling me to sit down, chill, you got it. You got it.
Okay.
Take the
I
wheel.
think serve is a beautiful word when I think about it, because we all in a relationship we serve each other different ways, but I think it's beautiful. I love the word. Okay. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, wife school. Do you ever think women consider the value they add to your life? No, that was for the man. I'm sorry. Do you ever think about the value you bring to a man's life, or is your focus usually on what he can do for you?
I think the way that modern society is trying to curate things is really trying to get women to be more self-focused. And that isn't a good recipe for a relationship. You can't be like in a relationship, but still thinking in a single mindset, So that's what I think society's really trying to curate women to do. So for me, I know that when I was in situations where I was just thinking about myself, or I wanted to be right and I wanted to get what I had, it didn't end good, So it's very important to consider your partner. You have to really kind of like take a step back and observe your feelings in the moment. Like, is this going to be beneficial to my man or to the situation, to the relationship, or is it going to cause everything to come down? Because I know I'm Bible based, and I know in the word it says like a nagging woman, a man would rather be up on the rooftop. So it's like I have to learn how to curtail some of those feelings that I feel and really be more cognizant and emotionally intelligent of this man that's in my life that I chose to be over me or that is over me. You know what I'm saying? So just maintaining that respect and keeping the peace in the home is what I believe women should prioritize, and in your feminine way, you can interject certain things, after, everything is all said, like, hey, Rick, I was thinking about this, I was thinking about that. And you can start incorporating some of your thoughts and feelings and, things into the relationship, that's, yeah.
You had a question, Mike?
No, I was gonna go next, right?
Yeah, you can go. You can go.
Real cool. So can you repeat the question so I can make sure I answer it fully?
Yeah. Do you ever
Man.
think women consider the value they add to your life?
Okay. So with my wife specifically, right? She asks me repeatedly, like almost every single day, or when she's leaving out, do I need anything? But what can I do better? That's a common question. Like, hey, is there anything I can do better? She asks it a whole lot. So in my mind, that's her looking to see how she can add value or what she may think I need at, on a daily basis. And most of the time it's nothing. But if it ever was something, I'm more than convinced that she's gonna try her best to execute whatever that task is.
Marcus, you asked the same question or no?
I actually have not asked it, but I'm intuitive and I kind of just peep things. So
Just checking.
yeah. But I'll be looking, I'll be watching, like, let me see, and then trying. But you know what, Trev, I might ask that.
It's always good to ask.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Swain. It's on you, man. Do you ever think women consider the value they add to your life?
Yeah, my wife considers me a whole lot. But if we were talking about what we see online on the internet and in real life, I think a lot of people are more self-serving than anything. They care more about what others can do for them than they care about what they can do for others. I think dating would probably be a whole lot better if people approach situations by saying, what can I offer the person that I'm trying that is either wanting to pursue me or I want to pursue. So no, in general, absolutely not.
Can you tell me what it was like before you got married? Do you think that women consider the value they added to your life?
Man, I keep trying to tell y'all, man. I've been with my woman since I was 21 years old. I don't know what it's like out there for y'all.
Okay. Go ahead, Empress. B, it's on you. Do you ever think about the value you bring to a man's life, or is your focus usually on what he can do for you?
I think that I consider what I can bring most of the time. And I think for women in general, we do that to a fault almost. Always considering what we can do for the man, how we can best serve them. And it's often not reciprocated. So again, like I was saying in the first response, it's something that should be done in tandem, right? I know as a woman what I can bring, the added value I can bring to a relationship. So such as I'm a nurturer, I can build spiritually, physically, morally, mentally, and all of that sense and all of those facets. But it's hard when the foundation, the soil of the relationship is dry land, right? And we talk about words like serving and submission. And I think when a lot of men are asking for women to serve and add value, they should also consider, what can I add to this woman's life? A lot of men who are asking for women to submit are not asking themselves, am I a man that a woman should submit to? Or if you bring in examples of like your daughter, am I the type of man I would want my daughter to submit to, right? Am I fulfilling those standards of masculinity and leadership and serving and protection? And that way it flows down. I know Wife School Podcast mentions that she's a woman of faith. I am as well. And oftentimes there's a popular scripture that says women should submit to their wives. But when you go down like another 2 verses, it talks about how men are supposed to provide that type of space and platform for the woman to submit, right? It's like follow the leader. I hate to make it that simple, But if the leader is not, leading properly, what is there to, fall in line with? So yeah.
Do you know? And I'm not familiar with like a lot of the word. Do you know what that second thing says after it says women submit to your husbands or whatever you were talking about? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. It says that husbands should love their wives just as Christ loved the church. And again, not all men are faith-based, right? So this depends on the type of man that you're with. But if you want to take it out of biblical context, in a sense, providing a space of safety, right? Providing a space of protection, and also you being a bearer of good fruits as well. So a woman has to fall in line with that. And if a woman is not feeling safe, this is beyond physical safety, emotional safety, all of those type of things. What is there for you all to be like working on? And as well as a woman, if you're expecting a man to do that for you, sis, for my sisters out there, you have to come in, with the right mind as a woman and understand your role in a relationship. Again, you're supposed to build, you're supposed to nurture, you're supposed to make fruits grow. So as women, we also have to constantly check ourselves too. And, personally, that's a conversation I have with myself, as you're trying to attain more serious, committed relationships. What am I bringing, I don't like to say to the table, but like, since we're talking about value, what am I bringing, to this man's life? How can I make his life better? So, yeah.
Careful what you do with that response. What real dope daddy? You gotta change your name, bro. Pause.
No, I'm just, a dope dad.
Forget. Okay, now that's better.
Yeah.
Careful what you do with that response that she gave to you on the question. That was a really good question, but just to make you aware, a lot of women today are manipulating the word of God.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think she answered the question, but it's not deep to me. I just let it go.
Okay.
I can answer the question. We want to clarify your question.
Hold on, y'all. I don't think Bruiser was finished, so let him finish first, and then you guys can respond. Go
The
ahead.
only thing I was gonna say was whenever they read that word, they typically manipulate it. Yeah, you suppose it says to submit to each other out of reverence for Christ. But we also, and to real dope point, we also know that we're supposed to love our wives like Christ loved the church, but Christ never submitted to the church. So that's where the understanding kind of drops off and falls dead on a lot of women who are manipulating the word. They don't truly understand that part is critical. Christ never submitted to the church. So why would a man submit to a woman? And you can answer that or y'all can bypass it. But I was just trying to shed light on that. I didn't mean to step on your question like that, real dope dad.
No, you finished it. I let it go, but you picked it up.
I think that's an interesting point, ladies. So what do you guys feel about that? If you are like biblical based and what he said that Christ didn't submit to the church,
the thing is, it's not submitting to me. You're submitting to God. That's why God is incorporated into this kingdom ordinance. So you're supposed to be submitted unto him, and I'm submitted unto you, right? So you don't have to submit to me in the church because you have a different responsibility. But best believe we both better be submitted unto God in some magnitude, because he is the governing authority over all of us. And how you're commanded to do that is to love us, and how he died for the church and all those things. But like I said, that's a different type of a magnitude of love and submission. Like you said, not unto the wife, but unto God, that you're doing under his instruction. Yeah, that's how you're submitting, but unto him. So I guess that's finishing what he was asking in the later scripture. But I guess, sometimes we want to make it equal, in our conversations. I know that we do it because, we want it to be a double standard so bad. Like, no, he has to do it, but there is a way that it goes, unfortunately. But, fortunately, we do get to submit to God together. We get to pray with one another. We get to love. We sacrifice with one another. And it should just be this reciprocal circle of love and serving one another.
Well, what you got to understand is a woman's submission is not contingent upon whether a man submit to God, because it sounded like you had to make sure he was submitted to God before you submit to him. It's a command, not a contract. God didn't say submit to your husband if he submits to God, if he's perfect. He said submit because that's your role. Just like men are commanded to lead, protect, and provide, regardless of whether a woman is always easy to deal with. Obedience isn't conditional. Submission is your position, not a reward for his spiritual performance. So if you
And you
only
understand that
follow
as
when
well?
it's convenient and you would never submit it, you would negotiate.
Just like you wouldn't submit to God and you would never negotiate with God. So we're coming from faith-based. It doesn't start with the woman. It really starts with you and your relationship with God. All the men in the Bible, they talk to God directly. He gave them command, they moved. If you have that relationship with him, he gives you command, you move. You move that and have that discernment for your household, and it goes down. He gave the commandment to Adam. Adam told his wife. And when they disobeyed, we know what happened. He said, I told you. You know what I'm saying? So I know that you really kind of want to put it on the woman to hold it all together, but it really starts with headship. And like you said, you get a woman that is in alignment with that, and then it should work out.
Do y'all think that? Do you think that?
Sorry. That was funny.
Do you think that women typically submit to men of God or men that submit to God? Like in real life, do you think that that's typically the how things would go?
I can only speak from my personal experience. The type of men that I encounter and like to engage with are men of God, or again, particularly from the Christian faith, because a lot of men claim that they believe in God, but it's like another type of God. Their savior is not Jesus Christ. So again, we have to be specific with what type of men we're talking about. Yes, absolutely. And it's a command for women to submit to the husband, as well as it's a command for the husband to love. I'm hearing a lot of leading and serving and all of that, but I would love to hear from men, like, what do they define as love? Like loving your wife or your partner, what does that mean? Like, doesn't that mean also serving her at some point where she's weak? You know, you come and pick things up. So to your point or your question, yes, I believe that women do submit to men of God, or men, let's take out the faith lingo, men who have strong heads on their shoulders. Like they have a clear path, they have clear direction. Again, whether if you want to call it alignment, you know, or whatever, it just has to be straight up, like in a specific order for a woman to be able, or a woman who's of like-minded faith to be able to fall in line with that.
Sweeney, were you asking in general or just like
I was
her
asking in
anecdotal
general.
experience?
I was asking in general.
Okay.
It's hard to speak to these things generally.
I mean,
we're bringing our lived experience, I think. And I think we should be mindful of trying to apply general thoughts to things and just think a little bit deeper, because there are layers.
Well, I
This
mean,
is really,
When
really.
you speak about following the word or being God fearing or doing it the biblical way,
Mhm.
and I would argue using general statements is actually justified, because that means you're operating under a unified standard. So anybody who's also subscribing to that type of faith or type of dynamic can be generalized, and they're actually expected to mirror the same expectations the laws suggest. Wouldn't you think so?
Right. I totally agree if we're speaking about Christian man to Christian woman.
Empress, can I ask you a question? How do you?
Hold tight, y'all. I'm not sure if Sweeney was finished. Let's let Sweeney finish, and then I know Sportscom was trying to say something as well. Go ahead, Sweeney, and finish.
So, yeah, I was asking in general because I like people to tell me what they see out there in actual, in the world. I know a lot of people like to talk about themselves personally, but if you think about it, if you look out into the world, me personally, oftentimes it's the men of God that are the least likely to be able to get, like, if that was the thing that was attractive to women, the submission to God and being God fearing, then they will be the ones that will be the pick of the litter. But we often do not see that. oftentimes we see the exact opposite of that. Man who will come in and say, well, I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm really not all that religious, or, you know, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, or like, even like when you try to mention that they have a good, they have a, what did you say, a strong head or on their shoulder or something like that?
Yes,
They can be strong. Yeah, they can have a strong head for the worst things. You know, they can be strong-minded in regards to all the worst things. They can be a strong-minded scammer. They can be a strong-minded dope boy. They can be a strong-minded, but because they strong-minded and they got a good, and they the people that they deal with feel like they got a good head on their shoulder, all of a sudden they the ones that get the submission, not the ones that typically are following God and expect women to behave the same way that God expects them to behave. Because oftentimes, me personally, when I hear, and we've had plenty of conversations with a lot of women, when anytime a woman says that she wants a God-fearing man, it's only to check the man. It's never about her. So she wants him to fear God so he can be in check, not necessarily to utilize God to actually command her to do what she's supposed to do.
All
right, I'm gonna have
God-fearing women.
Doesn't have to be.
It should be.
But that's not how it typically is.
Right. And again, we keep speaking about typically, but if we want to think from like a growth type of like mindset, you all both have to be on some type of, especially spiritually. And again, I hate to take it to church and the Christian faith, but when we talk about being equally yoked, we both have to be at a certain level playing field. I cannot be expecting you to be a God-fearing man and, for it to check you. As a God-fearing man, you're supposed to also check me as a God-fearing woman, check, right, if we're using that term, to get me into shape, because iron sharpeneth iron in relationships as well, just like in friendships, platonic, not platonic. So again, you have to be at the level playing field. And to answer the general question, nowadays, I would say no, because there aren't a lot of God-fearing people in general. We've lost that quite some time ago.
All right, I do want to get Sportscom in there. Go ahead, Sportscom, and then we'll go to Real Dope.
Oh yeah, all I wanted to say was you can be faith-based, you can be a Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, or what have you. But I think a lot of times men often think because she's a Christian, she's in church, she's in her Bible, she's not a realist. And I think we have to remember that. We're all faith-based women on here, I assume, School Podcast, myself, Empress B, but we're also realists. So,
what's the difference?
What do you mean? What's the difference?
What's the difference from following biblical order and being a realist?
Because I can understand that I can be in the Bible, I can go to church, I can believe in the Christian faith, but I'm also a realist in how a man may treat me, how a man may not want to lead, how a man may want different things from myself. I'm not naive to that, right? So I've learned that through time. But for me personally, I won't hold it against a man if he's not in church every single day, right? But as Empress B has said, and also the Wife School Podcast, we have to be equally yoked. I have to understand and feel safe and know that you believe in something. That you believe in something. That's just me personally. And you, Sweeney, you've been married for many, many, many years. Times have changed. The dating game has changed. The needs and wants of men and women have changed. And that's why we had mentioned before, women are kind of just doing it for themselves in terms of they're kind of on a straight and arrow. They're focusing on their business. They're focusing on their profession. They're going to school. They're doing them. Because to be perfectly honest, men are kind of giving sassy vibes. And they're acting a little bit more feminine than the women are. That's
what does that mean?
I'm saying men in general. I'm
asking like, what does that mean though? Like, what do you mean by that? Like,
I think he's asking for like an example.
Well, as we had mentioned before, it seems like women, we are the ones supposed to be serving constantly 24/7. What is it that you need? What is it that you want? How can I make you feel better? But at the end of the day, there's no middle ground. We're not meeting in the middle.
Like what?
Well, maybe sometimes I want my feet rubbed. Maybe I want to come home to a home cooked meal. Maybe sometimes like, let's go out for some coffee. Why do I have to always plan the dates? Do I have to drive? These are like and it's the littlest.
Oh,
wait a minute.
Man, don't want to rub it.
Hold on. Wait a minute. So
I didn't know it was so funny, but continue.
No, I'm gonna explain something to you. Oftentimes, men are being said that they are being accused of being sassy for asking for reciprocity. When they say that, hey, because that's exactly what the men are saying. Sometimes I want my feet rubbed. Sometimes I'm tired of always having to pay for all the dates. Sometimes I would like for you to come to me and ask me how I'm doing. That's literally what men are saying, and they often be accused of being sassy for asking for reciprocity. I don't think.
No. That's not what I'm saying, because the question that Lapeef asked earlier, I said it goes both ways. I want to make sure Empress in the wife school also said, we want to make sure that we are serving you. We want to make sure that we're saying, how are you doing? What is it that you need?
No,
But
yeah,
but reciprocating it to come back to me to say, Kalima, how are you doing? I've seen that you haven't gotten sleep for over 2 weeks because you've been working on your dissertation. Do you want some coffee? I know your favorite candy is Sour Patch Kids. It's the little things. That's what I'm saying.
Well, no, so I'm not denying that that's what y'all believe that reciprocity is and what it is to actually what you're supposed to bring. What I was going up against is when you say that men are sassy nowadays, and when I ask for examples.
I didn't say all men. I'm not saying
I'm not saying that you said. We just speaking in general. You just said that, hey, men are sassy. We send a lot of sassiness, and I'm just simply explaining that oftentimes the men, like what y'all deem as sassy, is basically men are asking for reciprocity in relationships, and they're just more vocal today about what they want. And since men have been vocal about what they want, they have been getting accused of being sassy, and that's just from the general public. That's normally when we hear somebody say that a man is being sassy, it's often him being vocal about how he feels.
Can I jump in really quick, Sweeney? When you bring up the concept of reciprocity, I guess we have to be careful of how we define things or understand how things are defined. So for me, when I say a man is being sassy, or it's like, he wants to be treated like a princess, it's kind of like he's a man who's just chilling, kicking back, and expecting the woman to do everything. As in, also, when a woman has to put on her masculinity jacket and protect and serve while he just sits there and kicks back. There's nothing wrong with a man. I mean, I see some people making faces, but it's true. This is what's happening. I know some of us are married on the call, but to understand what's happening today, a lot of men are kicking back, relaxing, not wanting to fulfill their roles and their duties as a man. There's nothing wrong with a man asking for things to be reciprocated. If you're loving up on this woman, she should be loving up on you. If you're being thoughtful and considerate for this woman, she should definitely be doing the same thing for you. So you asking for that, and first of all, you shouldn't even be asking for that in return. And if you find that you are, and it's coming up a little bit too much, that might not be the person for you, because you should never be begging for somebody to pour into you the same way that you're pouring into them.
Well, it's not necessarily all right. So the thing is that it's just public discussions, right? Like when men are asking for these things, they're not saying, "Hey," like if we all on this panel talking, right? Mm-hmm. So when I bring up the things that men may want from their women, I'm not saying, "Hey, Empress, I need you to do this for me." Mm-hmm. What we're saying is, "Hey, this is what men tend to like, would like to have in reciprocity. We don't see women doing this too often. Is it possible that y'all can do this?" And they're being called sassy. So it's not necessarily that men are like the men who are, who are getting what they want.
Yeah,
they're not, I'm sure they are also vocal about the things that they dislike in their women.
Yeah.
What we're saying is that when we're having a public discussion, it's often deemed as sassy for men to be vocal, which has been happening over the last 3 years. As soon as men started getting vocal about how they feel, about what they want in relationships, about the fact that, hey, look, we feel like we're giving so much, but we're not getting anything in return. That's when they started being called sassy, because instead of acknowledging the fact that men are desiring something that women may not be providing, they would rather shame the man into submission.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective, and I'm glad you clarified it in that type of way. I, for one, was not aware of that general definition around sassiness. Again, I thrive in spaces personally. I know I'm not here to talk about myself, but like the people that I actually surround myself with also, we thrive in spaces of reciprocity. There's nothing wrong with a man who can even express his emotions and his thoughts and feelings is a strong man. I mean, nobody wants to deal with the machoistic man who we can never crack, or he can never just be vulnerable. Somebody used that term earlier, to speak to me and, want to foster a relationship with me. I don't see anything personally sassy about that. But then again, if a woman says that nowadays, she's also a pick-me, might be from the same bunch of women, but
Sweeney, I wanted to because I don't want to conflate the two things. So I think what the girls are talking about, like, because Sports Combe brought up something to me that was kind of like crazy, like when she said, I want you to drive for once. And if the men that she's dealing with are letting her drive them in the car, I do think that might be a little sassy. I don't know. Maybe I'm different. I don't like when a woman drive me. I don't feel
I'll be
comfortable
honest.
with it.
I don't think
Fries, walk on the outside.
Sports Com is letting any dude. I don't think she has any man that's sitting riding passenger princess while she's driving all the places.
Oh, because that's one of her examples.
I don't think. I seriously highly doubt. You could correct me if I'm wrong.
Like, wait, I already peeped her. No,
I don't think there's any dude that is driving. Like, honestly, what I'm gonna be honest with you, real dope.
You can call me dope.
I'm gonna call you dope. Most of the time, a guy will say, "Man, why is it that men always have to be the ones that initiate sex or something like that? Or why do men always have to be the ones that have to plan every single day? Why we have to? Sometimes we would like for a woman to, ask us how we feel, and then a woman would make a post and say, "Man, these niggas is sassy all the time. They want to ride passenger princess." Like, if you look at the post, they're saying all these things that most men would pretty much be like, hell no, that is a trash ass dude. But they're saying that, but they're replacing what the man actually asks for. The man asks for reciprocity, but she replaced it with, "Oh, you want to ride passenger princess, and you want I guess you want flowers too." And he like, that dude never asked for flowers. He asked for a Christmas gift. He asked for a birthday gift. He didn't say, "I want flowers." You know what I mean? That's what, like, when I see people say that, like on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, is normally they replace what the man is actually asking for to make them sound sassy. They would say, "Oh, I guess you want to ride passenger all the time too. I guess you want flowers all the time too. I guess you want to a bubble bath too." You'd be like, that man didn't ask for that shit.
Yeah. No, I know. I dig it. Because I see that all the time too. Kind of just them kind of using it. Women have always used, sexuality and gay stuff to kind of like attack men. Like you might be having a discussion with a girl and she like, "Why are you arguing with a girl?" You like, "Damn, I can't even." I dig what you're talking about.
Now the dudes who do want to just ride passenger princess and all of that shit, I don't think any man on this panel would agree that that's not beholden of a man. I don't agree with any dude that just want to sit and let his woman do everything and he just sit by on the wayside. I think most men on this panel would be like,
we driving your car, my car. You're not driving.
Nice to know.
Go ahead, wife.
Can I ask a question? I'm just wondering. I've been wanting to ask this because, like, I know you guys. I don't know. Yeah, y'all were bringing up drizzle for a short period of time, so I don't know if that's still going on. But if men say their needs are simple, right? Then why are more men complaining about more things like the driving and the planning the dates and things like that? I'm confused. Like, so what simple needs that you guys have that you just need met? Because I often heard you guys say, like, "Well, our needs are simple," but now it's,
well, what do we complain about?
I don't know. I'm just asking you guys.
If I came to you and said, "Hey, you my wife," and I said, "Hey, look, we taking a trip to Orlando. It's a 12-hour drive. I need you to go ahead and start driving." What's wrong with that? Isn't that simple? You get behind the steering wheel, you put the keys in the ignition, and you put the car in drive, and you press the gas pedal. It's fundamental, right?
That's simple, but I'm talking about, like, your general statement in the past was just feed me, sex me, and keep me drained and all that stuff. Like, that's
a man arguing out
there
for the basic thing. That's a man arguing in desperation because he's not getting the basic things that he feels he should be entitled to to be monogamous and throw his player card in and focus on commitment to you. And he's not getting those things, so now he's simplifying his needs and wants. To try, it's a call for distress. Hey, look, man, damn, I just want the simple things. When in actuality, anything that I request, if you're supposed to be a submissive woman or a Proverbs 31 woman or whatever y'all call yourselves, you should be aligning to whatever his request is, if that's what you are.
Just like for y'all, protecting and providing is y'all would consider that the bare minimum. But then when we ask y'all some other stuff that y'all want, y'all will throw on the top of, hey, look, I need you to be able to be there for me emotionally. If I need a shoulder to cry on, if I need somebody to unload on, if I need somebody to support me in one of my endeavors, if I need your help around the house, like, you know what I mean? Y'all will start to load up things that would also be required. So yeah, those are the basic things that men will be like, damn, can we even get that? But we are far more complicated. I'm gonna be honest with you. Me and my wife, we take 20-hour drives across country sometimes. She drives half the route. Well, if I'm on a 9-hour binge, then I'll be good. But like a lot of times she helped me drive. How do you think that's how we able to drive and get somewhere in less than 20? Like if we could throw a dart at the wall and drive from here to California or from here to New York, and we do it all in less than a night, because I drive for 5.5 to 6 hours, then she'd drive for 5.5 to 6 hours. I get to sleep. Then I jump back in the driver's seat. And oftentimes, once I get that 5 or 6 hours of rest, I can knock out the rest of the drive. I can do 9 or 10 hours. You know what I mean? Straight.
Mr. Sweeney, I'm not a long distance driver, and I've been like that for a long time. How would you handle me in that situation where I know I can't do 5 or 10 hours? Maybe I could do 2. I'm sorry.
We'll either be flying or see, I like road trips. Okay. So like if we were together, then either we'd be flying, but if flying costs too damn much for me, I prefer to drive. So if we driving, then more than likely we'll stop somewhere. I'll take a nap or whatever, or we'll stop at a hotel or something. If it's that long, I can pretty much drive straight anywhere between 5 to 12 hours. But if it's over that, then I'm probably gonna stop and go to sleep. But
and I think to your point,
but you are gonna drive at least 2.5 hours. I'm gonna make your ass drive at least. You're gonna at least put in 2.5 to 3 hours. Give me at least 3 hours of sleep.
All right, we can go.
I think that brings us back to the point of like compromise, meeting in the middle, and playing off of each other's strengths and weaknesses. I have no problem driving. I don't want people to think I don't drive. I do drive, and I think also too that's like wife and husband, right? And what you guys have mentioned, Bruiser and Sweeney. But you do, unfortunately, there are some men that, they're not going to put forth that effort. I'm not saying all men. I'm just saying some men. Some men are different. And I never generalize, and I never go based off of what a man has maybe done to me and put that on the next man, because that's not fair. And I know women do that. They penalize men or they chastise men for what past men have done to them. And they bring those traumas and that PTSD into the next relationship. Then you end up blocking your blessing and really being connected with a new man who has really good intentions.
Got a question for the panel. Do women really understand the weight of what they add to a man's life, or do they mainly focus on what a man can do for them? Is it different for men and women? Anybody can ask.
Is that the same question you asked earlier? Do women consider the value they add to a man?
No, that's a different question.
How are we defining weight and value? What would you say the difference is?
Well, I would say this, man, for the value or whatever. I would say no. I don't think most women today actually consider the value they add to a man's life, because the culture taught them that showing up is enough. But the truth is, men don't need company. We need alignment. And everybody on here know I believe in God. I serve God. I might not call myself a Christian or whatever you want to call it, Catholic, but I do serve God. So she serves me as I walk that out. And that's the order, that's the value. If a woman isn't asking, what do you need for me to succeed? Then she's not a helpmate. She's a dead weight. And I typically don't build a legacy with liabilities. That's what I say to that.
All right. If anybody else want to answer that, I think the weight is what's the important part. Do women really understand the weight of what they add to a man's life?
I'll go ahead and I guess these days, no. Again, I brought up how a lot of people are far away from God now. A lot of women are going into relationships being very selfish and wanting to utilize men as a tool. And a lot of women are leechers, they're vultures. I'm not sure when this culture actually started. I want to blame, I guess, fast, I guess, media type of culture, Instagram, social media, and all those things, the newer ideologies. But I don't think women nowadays do understand that, again, you're supposed to be there to build, make the land more fruitful in your empire, so that it can be lasting. The man is the head, from what I understand, and the woman is like the neck.
They understand it. You need to come here more often. We've discovered many occasions that women actually do understand. They just
So
don't.
they're just not doing it.
It's just gonna do what it's just no accountability, responsibility, none of that. They're gonna do whatever they want. And I would
Right.
even argue that the women who try to persuade or ask for a man to compromise within a relationship are also leeches and trying to finesse a man in a situation given the current climate, that if the relationship fail, it's an unfair deal for the man in that. So I think me and Trev and Will came up with and Sweeney came up with an understanding earlier before the year ended, that if a man is to even consider being married, he needs a woman's full submission, no pushback, because the way the climate is on in the event of things failing, this man is just screwed out of the situation. So if any man is even entertaining it,
Right.
he needs to entertain it on his terms. And it might not have been you and White. That might have been just an understanding the man Trev came to.
Right. So if a woman knows her weight and willingly decides to not operate in that space, she's not ready to be in a relationship. She's not ready to be a wife. There's nothing for you all to be discussing.
You said if a woman understands her weight?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
you just said like there are women who know they know what they're supposed to do. They know their weight, they know their value, but they just decide not to do that. Then they're not ready to be in a relationship or be married.
That's the reason for the rate of marriage.
I'm sorry?
I said, thus the reason for the current rate of marriage. It corroborates what you're saying. That's why a lot of women are confused, or I wouldn't even say confused. They're acting confused on why a lot of men are walking away from marriage, particularly. But I know for a fact, and we've had it in many, we have revealed and exposed women on countless occasions on these panels, in these conversations, in this space of women acting like they're confused why men are being married, but they know. I don't think they really could, or they don't have any compassion, or they don't even have any consideration for this current climate.
Bruiser, you know what? I think that women absolutely know the weight, right? And you see it when they run into the man that they want, right? They know how to pour into that man instinctively. They are just the greatest. They have this intuition that works in a positive manner, believe it or not. And they learn how to infuse themselves where they need to and stay out of what they don't, right? The only problem with that is that women generally don't land the man that they want. Or if they do, it's probably in the early years, they get trashed by him. And to Sports Combay's point, they project that onto the other men, right? So that's what a lot of the gripes that men are complaining about right now, because women know how to do all these things and they're willing to do it for the men that they want. But a lot of times women feel like they are settling for somebody. So, and that's just human behavior. If you value something more, then you try to bring more value to maintain it, right? You're not going to treat that Honda the same way. You know, if you spent $500,000 or whatever, you said, hey, look, I'm getting this Lambo, this Aston Martin, whatever, you're probably going to be current with the oil changes. If you bought a used Honda for like 3 racks, you might skip a couple, right? And that's just what it is. They value these men a lot more, and they know how. Don't ever get it twisted. Females instinctively know how to treat a man for the most part, right? They have sometimes developed some bad habits, but as humans, as adults, we're responsible for what we do correct and what we do wrong, right? Ignorance is no excuse for breaking the law, and it's no excuse for not taking care of your person either. So we can't let people get the cop out anymore, like Bruce is saying right now. Forget all that. That's not where it's at. We know that you understand the language, right? Women are always talking this love language thing and everything else. They know it all until it comes to executing it on a man that they ended up with.
Well, Trevor, I want to throw something out there for you. Because I think women being delusional, I think goes hand in hand with them being nurturers. Like for example, like a woman who says, "Oh, my baby ain't do that. I know my son, and he a little demon out there, right?" I think them being, because you say they know what they're doing. I'm not sure, because I know that they have the keen ability to be blind, and that's just kind of like one of their superpowers. What do you say to that?
Um, I would say that's not wrong, right? Because there are some women who are delusional, and I would say when they're delusional about what it is sometimes that they actually can get, right? A lot of times they would dream and feel like they can get this type of man and different things like that. So I would say in that sense, yes, women do have an uncanny ability to be delusional when it's convenient for them, but I'm still not going to award them the idea that they don't know what it is that a man wants. If you really, really don't, you could simply ask him and he'll tell you. Men's requests are generally simple, even if it's a lot of things. A man isn't afraid to ask you for what he wants unless you are not welcoming. And if you're going to tell me that these women don't know how to be welcoming, then damn, we got to give them some type of credit. They ain't children anymore.
And we just saying that because we done had so many scenarios and so many topics, so many discussions. We have women come on here that's been coming on here for years and still haven't figured it. We've given them the game. Like, I'm talking about stuff that you would have to charge for. And for some reason, women are
Charge
still,
for?
yeah,
Yeah,
charge
it's
for.
Why was that?
consultation.
Why do I
Like,
have to? You have to
Like $1
charge
million
somebody
worth of
for
game.
something.
I think he was trying to say like
If
that.
you want this information to be available to the public, you should be doing a public service by giving it
Well, he
free.
didn't
That's
charge
a
him.
moral
He didn't
obligation.
charge him.
You're
He's just saying he
corroborating what
could
I'm
charge
saying.
him.
Wow. I'm just saying.
That's two.
That's two.
I
Or
have a
more. You
question.
get kicked. No, I'm just
Hi,
kidding.
Empress.
I'm just kidding.
Empress B has a question. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, so I'm also stuck on the point of charging. If it's so simple, why does it need to be? Why would you need to charge anybody? But secondly, there's a lot of discussion around men or women know what men want, but do men know what women want? Again, I understand women are supposed to submit and serve, lay down our whole life, our entire being. But do men understand what women need to be able to operate in that space?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are men who are having these requirements, these expectations, also thinking about that or considering those things?
I don't think most women know what they want.
And then we get that.
Yeah, I don't think most women know what they want.
I think men know intuitively. Back to the intuitive part. So, women want to feel like they are around a man that's got their best interest at heart, that they protected, that they safe, that they have a space to be soft in, so that they don't feel like it's going to get weaponized, that anybody can come in between that. They want to feel connection, right? So be a sexual intimacy, and it's not just sex that intimacy exists in, where you mesh and you bond and you create the masculinity that has an aura that draws her in and makes her feel in her truest form of femininity, where you get the full submission because she has nothing to worry about. She does not feel like it's going to be weaponized. She feels just safe in general in all facets of life. So whatever category, like Judge Leontola said, as rich as she was and all the things she went to, when she lost her husband, she lost a piece of herself because he was her rock. He stood in the gap for everything. So women in general want that.
So women do know what they want.
Yeah,
I think you got to know a woman better than she knows herself. I'm sorry if that comes off, wrong, but I think in many cases, like the woman, if you really meet a good man, 5 years from now, you're gonna be a completely different person. So that's just kind of my take on it.
We know what you want, but it may seem like we don't, because a lot of men are growing to be more cognizant that what a woman wants doesn't necessarily align with the best interest of the relationship. It's actually closely aligned with her individuality. And a lot of times the relationship is sacrifice, or the things that keep the foundation up in the relationship is sacrifice for the sake of her wants. So
But a
it may
woman,
appear that we don't know, but we do know. We just don't want to entertain it because it runs a risk of the relationship being destroyed.
I
I
But
don't.
So I
Bruiser,
would say,
would it be
I,
entertained if she fully submits, if you get that full submission, Bruiser?
Can you say that again, ma'am?
If she fully submits, would you entertain those things that she wants, that you're saying that men know women want? If she gives you that full
My wife,
submission that you're looking for.
my wife fully submitted, and I entertained the things she wanted.
Okay.
Absolutely,
That's good.
but there are also things that she wanted that doesn't align with my purpose and the best interest of the relationship. Therefore, I had to, explain that those things wasn't going to be
So you should
considered.
illuminate both sides, that you do both, not just saying that you don't for the sake of the whole relationship. You do, entertain your wife on certain things, Just be real, be honest. It's not a
But,
bad thing,
but also, did she really
Show it.
want that? My, how
Can
some
we
people
use
say
an
women are
example?
like children.
Can you give in real dope? I'm not going to even steal it from you. Can you give him an example of what you mean? And I just want to see how y'all answer that. Example of, okay, she want this, and then how the guy would respond. It
So
can be anything. It can be a Birkin bag or whatever, something crazy or whatever. Something small.
I'm not talking about materialistic things.
Yeah.
Those are dead and gone. We're
Okay.
talking about emotional, mental safety, those type of things, the things that M. White mentioned, right? So when I think Sportscom Bay said, like, you man notices she hasn't slept in like weeks. She has this big project she's working on at work or whatever the case is, something's going on in the family. How are you there to fill in the gap to assist your wife or your partner and support her? Those type of wants. Like it's definitely beyond the Birkin bag. I'm not talking about those type of like materialistic things, but in wholeness.
Oh, so I'll
think-
let Real Dope answer, and then he can go from there because I did cut you off, bro.
Oh, what did you ask, Empress? What you asking?
Do when men get the full submission, right? Do they end up giving women the things that they claim that they know women want?
Well,
And then she gave an example. Can you give him that example one more time so you can?
Right. So, for example, if you are in a relationship with a woman or your wife, right? Because I think somebody said that, I think he said that his wife fully submitted to him. And then he finally, I guess, let me not use the word finally, but he now started to listen to the things that she wants and like her needs, although some of them didn't align with his purpose, right? So I was asking, in that case, in that scenario, when a man receives all the submission from a woman, do you now give her the things that she wants?
Well, my purpose is our purpose. Whatever my purpose is ends up being our purpose. So that's now your purpose. So I don't, there's, if you think that you want something and that doesn't align with my purpose, then it doesn't align with your purpose, and I can't allow you to have that. If that makes sense. Like if you're asking me for something that we can't afford, then I'm going to have to let you know that we can't afford that. But I know as for me personally, and I don't know about other guys, but like if you submit, my woman, she submits to me, so she gets whatever she wants, and I will work to give her whatever, like yachts, whatever she wants in the future. I'm gonna work hard out. You can have whatever you want because you give me yourself, everything. I want everything, mind, body, soul. I need it all from you, and I'll give you anything you want. That's just me personally.
Yeah, I think the scenario that was originally given was about, I think Sportscom was talking about studying all night for exam, and hey, can you bring me some coffee? Or for example, like my wife had a situation like similar to that, not exactly, but I made sure she got her rest, and I took the kids out to the park or something like that, so she could sleep in for maybe 8 hours or something like that. I don't think that's a matter of submission and want or having to be communicated. That's just basic being a decent human being. You know what I'm saying? Like, having consideration for others. So I think anybody who requires that to be communicated or some type of transaction is an asshole. And not to take shots at your ex or whatever, if that's what he was doing, but anybody who fit the deal.
You kind of sound like somebody who may have been in a space in their life where they weren't really able to focus on you, because that sounds like just common courtesy. Like I would do that for a stranger if we were around each other enough.
Oh, it was just me, myself, and I, as Beyonce said. It was just kind of like just a scenario that I wanted to throw out there, because it really is like the simplest things, and like you said, like
I wish it was the other way around, though. Like for the men, like we want the same courtesy and consideration, but it doesn't come unless we actually have something to offer first. You get what I'm saying?
And
it's almost like what are you gonna do for me first?
Okay, so Bruiser, I get what you're saying, and I like that you brought that up, because, for instance, dating someone that is in the entertainment space, and I know that he has to work a week straight. He doesn't have time to cook or whatever the case is. So I decided, and Empress B knows this, that I'm just going to cook for him. I'm going to make sure that he has enough meals for 4 days. He didn't ask me. He didn't require it of me. He's not my boyfriend, but he worked so hard, and I just wanted to make life a little bit easier for him during the week. So he didn't have to worry about, what am I going to eat? I'm going to be up late all night. I have to go and do this gig. So that's what I did. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because we also have to keep in mind, as women, we're busy, but you guys are also busy. Your careers are very demanding. So if there's something that we can do in that space to make it a little bit easier for you, so you don't have to think about it. And I know meal prepping may seem like a lot, but it's really simple, right? And just to pack up the food, and even if he can't come to the house and eat it, it's ready for him to just take with him so he can eat it on his way to work. That's where I was coming from. Yeah.
I wanted to go back to a question that was presented earlier. If I think Empress B, you asked if men understood what women actually wanted, and I would say that my opinion is men understand the basics, like Bruce was talking about a little bit earlier, but in general, I don't think that men know exactly what women want. For one, women are individuals, and certain women are going to need certain things based on, their upbringing, lifestyle, a multitude of factors. And shit, Marcus give out a lot of game. Bruiser give out a lot of game, right? Sweeney do. I would imagine Dope does too. I know I do, about men who have no idea of how to treat women, how to approach women, how to do, how to turn women on, how to tackle women's emotions. Like none of this stuff. A lot of people just don't know. They haven't learned it, right? This wasn't taught. It's not something that's always taught in your household. And it's not something that everyone has an opportunity to experience. And real deal, a lot of females don't even know what it is that they want. A lot of times what females articulate they want isn't anywhere near what it is that they respond to, right? The type of guy that they would say they pray for is not the type of guy you ever see them going out with. And they have opportunities with everybody, but they ignore a lot of men who would check those boxes that would keep them stable, that would be a good family man, but maybe he don't warm up the oven like she want, so she's going to treat him differently. So it's going to be tough for men to get that because of the way women respond to things versus what it is they say they want.
I think that's why a lot of men do know what they want, though, because we're not worried about what they're saying. We're worried about how they respond. It's like when you go into a therapist's office, of course you think you know what's wrong with you, but he's like, no, you told me this story, but he's asking you about something about that story because he's trying to dig and actually find out what's actually wrong and where it actually stemmed from, if that makes sense.
So are you saying that men do know more about what it is women want?
Well, it is a nice amount of men who don't know, but that's, I think, because they don't get women. I think if you are a man who does, not have an issue with women, you have to study women. You have to know everything about women. Like,
do you think the average man gets women or no?
Probably not. I mean, the ones that I grew up with, like at least more than like at least 60-70% of us got women, but I don't know about other
Yeah.
communities and
So
stuff like that.
what I try to do, right? I realize that a lot of us that come up on the panels and stuff, we are used to talking, like we're social, we understand things, you know what I mean? But that's not the general public, right? Not everybody's going to be able to come up here and have a conversation like we could have, right? And be able to give out game like we could give. All of us had different experiences and stuff. So I try to understand, and I'm outside, right? Anybody who don't know, if you know me, you know I'll be outside. I'm in the mix. I understand. I got boots on the ground. I deal with people from all the young adults all the way up to, men in their 70s as far as exchanging information, right? Women too. So what I'm saying is that's not like your average person. Your average dude is having big problems obtaining women. It's tough. It's tough to approach them. There's people who are scared because they feel like it might be sexual harassment. They don't know when to push up on a woman. You can't. When you look at the numbers statistically, most people met their husbands or wives at work, but now you catch a case for it, right? Women don't want to be bothered at the gym. They don't want to be bothered anywhere, but the club is like the only acceptable place or bar, and then they're standing on the wall over there, not even mingling. So it's not that easy. If you're not that guy, if you're one of them guys, women gonna get in your way. But if you're not, your story is different. And I feel like a lot of times we forget that, like what the average person is going through. I don't, because I talk to these cats. I help them with that type of stuff. And it's a lot more people than we'd like to think. And I feel like when we talk about these conversations, I try to focus on what the majority of people are doing, right? It's never going to be a consensus, but there's a lot of people who don't understand, and there's people that need to hear that shit, right? So I know I'm cool, right? It don't matter, but there's a lot of people who need to hear it and who need to get that game, and that's why I do what it is that I do, because I understand that perspective, because I wasn't always cool neither. So as a teenager, I had to deal with shit, and I had to learn from scratch. So I know the feeling, and I know how to build yourself out of that. So when I was able to do that, now I can help people. So that's why I always want us to, just kind of consider that.
Yeah, I may be wrong.
All right. I did want to ask, let me get to these super chats real quick, then I'll keep it moving. Mr. Travolta with the $50 foreign currency. Women don't think in general outside themselves. Successful MD with the $2 says a man shouldn't have to ask for reciprocation. Edward Gilbert, $10 says, Empress, what's your definition of love in a marriage? Love is actions, not words, providing protection, problem solving, sacrifice, and selflessness. Everything a man does in marriage is love. Edward Gilbert with the $2 says selflessness. Yeah, okay, I got that one already. Dr. Steele, member for 34 months. Thank you, sir. Do you think some women have a false sense of what femininity is? Do you think some men have a false sense of what masculinity is? Got Viz says, men only get flowers on their deathbed. Give them to him while he can smell them. 100. Successful MD, $2 says, once a woman is puka size, it's over. And Viz made the correction with the men with the 199. Richard 7K757, also a member for 27 months. Thank you. I see SportsCon Bay trying to separate yourself from the pack to get chosen. Nothing wrong with competing. And clap emoji. I want to thank everybody that's contributed to the platform. Much love. Hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe if you haven't. I had a question for the men. Do you feel like women value the right things in you, or is it more about what you can provide? Do you feel unappreciated for what you contribute emotionally and intellectually? Next question for the men.
I guess I'll go. I feel like you have to kind of, at least for me, when you do something, it's just what you do. People can kind of get used to it. Like I'm the type of guy, I don't want you to pay all the bills. I don't want to touch no doors. So you can, after a while, feel like you're being unappreciated because you do all of these things, and this person is just like, oh, this is regular. So I guess you like what Mr. M. White said, the fact that his woman asked like, "Hey, is there anything I can do better?" I think we all kind of got to take the time out sometime to, you know, kind of say like, "Hey, I do appreciate what you do," because a lot of things might go, you know, might be perceived as we don't, because we just kind of living and we forget about it. But I think a lot of men probably aren't really appreciated for what they do.
Can you repeat that question again? I just want to make sure I got full clarity.
Yeah. Do you feel like women value the right things in you, or is it more about what you can provide? Do you ever feel unappreciated for what you contribute emotionally and intellectually?
That's a two-part question. So to the first part, I do feel like a woman who's serious about getting in a relationship and being down with you, I guess she do consider whatever. Damn, I don't. Can you just give me the first question again without the second part? I guess.
Do you feel like women value the right things in you, or is it more about what you can provide?
Do they value the right things in me, or whatever I can provide?
Or is it more about what you can provide?
I would say a lot of men these days don't know how to separate those two. I think provisions and protecting is highly valuable for men, and it should stay that way. But the right thing, I think, is subjective. The right thing in me. I will say that whenever I was able to communicate, when I was younger and I was able to communicate that, the things that I wanted valued other than just the monetary things that I can do for a woman, it actually worked as a filtering system. I didn't really enjoy that because a lot of women were turned off from that. But that was good. That was good. But it was certain women that I was really interested in that I didn't never go that far because the filter worked so strong. But whenever I found a woman that was willing to align with that, things worked out. So I would say if a man is able to communicate intrinsic value or whatever you want to call it, aside from monetary or provisions or whatever, then I think it'll put him closer to connecting with somebody who's actually compatible for him in a relationship. Now, what did you say the second part was?
The second part was, do you ever feel unappreciated for what you contribute emotionally and intellectually?
Yeah, I think every man has gone through that or will go through it. I don't care if you've been married for 2 years, 10 years, 20 years. I think women innately go through psychological or emotional changes to where they start to lean more on on how they personally feel at times. And a man or husband or whoever you are, have to try to level a base again to get her to understand that my feelings are important too. I know that you're going through postpartum. I know the changes are intense and it impacts your sensitivity and impacts where you lean on it, where you lean at emotionally. And typically you tend to lean towards your own emotions and want everything to revolve around you. And I think men at that point need to still set your boundaries and still demand that it's even, you know what I'm saying, across the board, because you can be manipulated in those situations if you're not careful. Because a lot of women could cry tears and yearn and stuff and talk all that just to get you to focus solely on their emotions and forget yourself. So you got to be cognizant of that. And I'll yield.
I'm going to switch it up a little bit, man. What does it really mean to be compatible in a relationship? Is compatibility just about sharing similar interests, or is it about understanding each other's needs and growth?
Did you switch it up because you don't think nobody's intelligent enough to follow behind that, or are you just like, fuck it,
I'm definitely not. I'll answer it.
I was going to answer.
Unless one of the ladies want to go. Go ahead,
Well,
Bronx.
I want to kind of get the ladies involved too. Yeah.
So my answer.
Yes.
Hold on,
White podcast. Let's let M White answer that question, and then we'll come back. Go ahead,
okay, so I was gonna say I 100% feel value for more than just finances or what I can provide for a relationship. I think I always have. I kind of walk the line of not ever leading with money and always leading with just who I am as a person. And I was gonna say an example of it. That's why I was gonna grab my phone. So my wife sent me these messages every morning. This the message from this morning. If you ask me about my husband, I smile and say he's my heart. But if you ask me what he truly means to me, I tell you that this man is my greatest blessing. He carries burdens in silence, makes sacrifices without hesitation, and gives more than he ever takes. He puts our family first every single day, even when it costs him his comfort, his sleep, or his peace. He's my silent strength, my greatest supporter, and the reason I believe in selfless love. I'm beyond grateful for everything he does, seen and unseen. He is my answered prayer, my forever safe place. And I will never stop thanking God for him. I love him always, deeply, fiercely, and gratefully. Thank you, my love.
Is that a meme or she typed that out to you?
No, it's a meme. She sent me
Okay.
like one of them damn things every morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's still thoughtful. Yeah. That's still...
Yeah.
She say you that
Y'all-
every
y'all-
morning?
Hey,
y'all
Marcus,
see
you
the-
know I'm gonna ask you. You know I'm gonna ask you again, Marcus. Do you send her those memes back or no?
I have my own version.
Yeah, he's sitting with Marcus. You sent a physical meme back, huh?
Yeah.
Physical eggplant.
But no. Oh shit.
You about to say something, Sweeney?
Sweeney about to drop a tear. Go ahead, bro.
I was going to answer the question, but I forgot the goddamn question. Honestly,
He changed it.
he changed it.
It was 2 questions at first, and he added a third.
Yeah, it was 2 questions.
And Bruiser.
Yeah, hold on.
Pause.
I'm gonna read this question. Do you feel like
talking about that
women?
man eggplant, man?
It's pause for you because you were so late with it. It was on your mind, so that means
No, somebody just put it in the chat. Somebody just put it in the chat.
Oh,
All right. Do you feel like women value the right things in you, or is it more about what you can provide? That's the first part, Sweeney.
So I know a lot of people what they like to say and before they get in relationships, but I want to kind of address it from the perspective of when relationships tend to break down, what tends to happen, right? I think oftentimes, and this kind of goes both ways, but people often don't consider how much the other person has done. You know what I mean? Like it's always they tend to feel like they've given more to the relationship than the other person, but they oftentimes don't consider that person has also been given or given into the relationship. Kind of see these discussions happen on TikTok a whole lot, where a lot of women talk about being stay-at-home. What did they say? Single mothers, single wives, or something like that. Single mother wives. And it's like, oftentimes they talk about all the things that they do and what they contribute to the relationship. And then you're like, well, and a lot of the times when people comment or they respond to these people, they don't often ask them, well, do you know what your husband contributes? Do you know what they bring, what they sacrifice? How much they give to you that you may not necessarily take heed of, but when you're angry, you only want to talk about the things that you provide. And I like to use this chart because it honestly paints the narrative of what really. Hold on, wait, damn! I thought I had the goddamn. Hold on, real quick.
Come on.
I often like to use this chart right here because it really paints the perfect narrative to how marriages actually go. When you talk about what people give, they pretty much give everything that they can to a marriage. Depending on the hours you work outside the home is how many hours you give inside the home, how much child care you give, you know what I mean? How much they split the child care work, how much they split going to work, how much time they lose. I think one day I did it. I was about to say, JR, you could take it down, but I remember a conversation I had on one of JR's shows where we were having a conversation about sacrifices. And when I was explaining to him how sometimes men sacrifice their entire family just to make sure that they family stays afloat. They often miss all the football games. They miss the events, or the kid got this banquet that he has to go to, but dad got to work, And then when those relationships break down, she still has the family, she still has the support system and everything else. And he gave 20, 30 years to his job, and he doesn't have any of that. And so I just wish that people would consider the other person a lot more. And I kind of spoke to that earlier, Where if you consider the other person a whole lot more, you will start to see the bigger picture in your marriage and your relationship, and you will start to appreciate it more. Then that way, when you see that, then you start to send the messages that M. White wife sent him. Like, hey, look, this is how much I appreciate you. I'm sure that Trev get gifts and memes and shit all the time of the funny stuff that his wife like to send him. I get the same things where like she sent me all these gifts and memes about our relationship. I even see it like when you on Facebook and you truly see happy marriages for real. It's not the glitz and glam. It's not all the flashy stuff. It's always the goofy stuff that couples talk about. You know, the guy, I just came across this meme just now where it was like what happens when your husband doesn't pay the wife tax. And it was basically her sticking her butt out for him to smack him when he walked past. And then she was like, she threw a frying pan at him and he came back and smacked her ass. Now it was tongue in cheek, but that's what couples laugh about. We're not actually laughing about like, oh man, I can't believe you'll throw a pan up. It's more of the funny little things that we do in marriages and relationships that make it fun, the little things. So that's when you actually start saying that. But oftentimes when people talk about the marriages and relationships and how they break apart, consider the other person. Consider before you talk about everything you did, write down everything they've done. And then go and ask them what you believe that they've done. And then you come up with your list. And maybe sometimes y'all might come together and be like, God damn, I didn't know you did that much. I didn't know you felt that way. I didn't know you sacrificed that much. I didn't know that you not being able to go to the game that I was able to, that I've been going to affected you that much.
I appreciate that, Sweeney. All right, I'm going to ladies kick this off and then we'll get a couple gentlemen's responses. But what does it really mean to be compatible in a relationship? Is compatibility just about sharing similar interests, or is it about understanding each other's needs and growth? You can go at Sports Combat and then we'll go to Empress. What does it really mean to be compatible in a relationship?
I mean, I think liking each other's wants and needs and having similarities, but I mean, let's be realistic. I'm into sports. I love sports. I was a former figure skater. That's my thing. And it's funny that Sweeney had brought that up about the game, missing the game or what have you. I'm the type of girl, I want to be home on Sunday after church watching the games, or I want to be watching the NBA finals, make it a family event. But I know some women aren't like that, right? I think also too, being a woman, and if your man likes to watch games, or if he likes to hike, or if he likes to go to the gym, or if he likes to go to basketball, meet him halfway. If you don't like to be outside, again, I like the word compromise. You have to compromise. You can't be selfish. You can't just always want it to go your way. If you don't like bugs and he's like, look, babe, I'm just asking you to come to my pickup game for like a half hour or for an hour. It can't always just be you are taking, and you're not meeting him in the middle and you're not supporting him. We've been all talking about supporting your man. So I think it goes both ways, JR. Again, there's a lot of things that you want in a relationship you may have dreamt as a little girl. That is not reality. There are things that you may like that he may not like, and vice versa. And that's just life. And if you don't like it, then maybe you just need to remain single. And that's just the reality of it.
Why is it that you think some women struggle with accepting that reality now? Because, I mean, you have some folks that still try to hold on to these expectations, the list, what it is that they desire in a man. So why do you think a lot of women struggle with that reality? Or is it really a reality? Is that just something that you're just saying? Or do you truly believe that every woman should adopt this ideology that you presented for us?
I mean, you learn as you get older, at least I would hope you do. And some women are just selfish. They want things to go their way. They can't get out of their own way. And I'm not trying to be a pick-me, whomever that was. I'm 42 years old, and I'm just a realist to this. I've grown. I've been in relationships. I've seen things. I have conversations with my girlfriends, with my male friends who are married, who are not married, who are single. I think for me that some women are just selfish. They have not dealt with traumas, not just in their own relationships. I don't know their relationships maybe with men in their lives, whether it's with their father, their uncles, their brothers, or whatever the case may be. You have to deal with past traumas. You have to work through it, and you have to also be upfront and open with men that you are dating. I'm not saying upfront, right? But if he's asking you, you seem like you're like angry. You just seem like you're holding on to something. Open up to me just a little bit. Let me know what's going on. But if you're not willing to open up, he can't read your mind. The Wife School podcast, we talked about that, about the importance of communication. You have to communicate. And communication comes in different forms, but you also have to be patient with individuals. Yeah.
Hey, Empress, excellent points there, Ms. Sports Conbay. A lot of times we may hear women speak on this, and it sounds good. They've come to reality that this is the way that it should be. But what we've seen a lot of times is that it sounds good, but we don't see that being illustrated once they're in the relationship. And so what we do see is that new them, it starts to fall throughout the relationship, and they start to revert back to what they have been comfortable with early on in their life. So do you think that's a thing? Do you think that people really have accepted reality, or do you think that it's just something that they attempt to do, and it's conditional depending on how their relationship is?
I would say in general, people have not accepted that reality. I think the illusion that has been set up around the over romanticization of relationships, particularly how men are supposed to show up and be there, is something that a lot of women are still trying to unlearn. Again, it could be from the media, as well as married women and women who have been in long-term relationships in our communities not being honest about what it actually takes to be in a relationship, the things that you do have to sacrifice. Also being able to step away from your actual wants and needs. We talk a lot about consideration. We've talked about that. A lot of the times, you may not be receiving 100% from your partner. It may be 70-30. It can go hand in hand on that. And then sometimes you may not have the opportunity to just wait on your man to do things up front. So yeah, there's this false illusion that I believe is women are working on in general, or trying to, or a particular type of women to unlearn those things. So yeah, hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, you answered the question. You can also answer this one too, like, what does it really mean to be compatible for you in a relationship?
In a relationship, to be compatible, we want to appreciate our similarities. But one of the biggest drivers of relationships not working out is typically the differences, from what I've been seeing and understanding. So taking time out to actually pay attention and address those gaps, trying to find, I guess, the light in those differences. And for example, I may not like sports, but how can I, be there for my man at that time? Or I like hiking, he doesn't like hiking. What can he do for me? Maybe he could pack my hiking bag, for me, and keep me company virtually while I'm on my hikes. Things like that. It's not only about you. I think that's another issue. A lot of people brought that up. A lot of people are self-serving in relationships. And when we can get to the point where we understand that it works in tandem, us serving one another, that's how compatibility will be able to thrive, like truly, and the differences won't break us.
All right, I'm gonna go to wife school, then I'm gonna go to Will. Wife school. Some say relationships are about supporting each other, but how do we know when we're giving too much support and not enough challenge?
Ooh. Oh, I'm a C+ student. I would give them too much support.
Yeah, I repeat that. Some say that relationships are about supporting each other.
I guess when it comes to the point where, like how you guys were talking about the appreciation, if you're not feeling appreciated, you're like, well, maybe I'm just overextending myself, or maybe I'm having this expectation of a thank you or some type of reciprocation. Maybe that, can be voiced or concerned or things like that, or, in a nice way, like, hey babe, have you been noticing that I've been, doing this for you. He's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I mean, there's ways to try to get feedback without tearing the whole house apart, I believe, because I think sometimes we don't know how to have good conflict resolution skills. So we just mess up everything. And now I'm on the side of the house, you're on that side of the house. And now we just feel like everything's in the trash. I want to leave and I'm not happy no more, So I think there's a way to get positive feedback of, well, maybe I'm doing too much or things like that, or just to voice the communication. You have to talk. Your man, your woman is not a mind reader. Before you burn yourself out, you should definitely probably slow down and reevaluate, some things, and, discuss with your partner. And then, like, you can insert the challenge, like, well, is it, when are you going to start doing a little bit more of this? We've been through this a couple of times, and, I just really would like if you would do this. And, like, then now you can, respectfully challenge your mate in that way, and hopefully it doesn't come across like you're trying to be a nag or telling me what to do. But hopefully at that time, the respect level, can mitigate everything to be like cool, stuff like that. And that's just about it. It's just about keep maintaining the respect. It's about also considering yourself too, because you're in this relationship too, and you don't want to get, burnt out. You don't want to feel like you're falling off, or now I have desires for something else, or things like that. You don't want to do that. You have to keep yourself in the loop, and you have to keep your spouse or mate in the loop as well.
Appreciate that, Wife School. Go ahead, picking and choose what you got for us, brother.
Man. Listening to this, it was like watching paint dry. I'm struggling. I had some questions for the ladies, but I wanted to answer your question. I remember the last one you had asked. Well, the first one you asked when I came on, you asked, how do you know when you're compatible? Was that the question?
Yeah, that was the question.
I think that most people don't find who they're compatible with because most people are trying to get their significant other to do things that they like, instead of, like, I think when you find somebody that you can effortlessly do what they like, that's who you're compatible with. If you constantly have to work to do the things that they like, you guys aren't compatible, because you're going to eventually drop the ball. You can't sustain loving someone uphill. You have to love people downhill. People say relationships aren't easy, and that's the problem. Relationships should be easy, because I don't know any of you guys that are struggling to be friends with your best friend. Like, oh, it's so much work to be friends with her. It's so much work to be friends with him. Every day I gotta try to figure out how to keep my male friend happy. Can you imagine us men out here putting in effort to keep another platonic male happy? That's insane. Same thing with the opposite sex. If I got to fight, I had this one girl that I used to date. Fine. I was like, ooh, baby girl was bad. At least to me, she was bad. I put her on about an 8.5 out of 10, 8.5, 9. It was so difficult to keep her. She was just in a space. Not that what she was asking for was wrong or bad or too much. It just wasn't what I was tailor made to do. So it was a lot of work, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. This ain't gonna work for me. So although she was happy in the relationship because I was doing the things that she liked, I wasn't necessarily happy doing the things. So I had to fall back. And it wasn't like it was breaking the bank or doing anything like that. It just wasn't what I was accustomed to doing naturally. So like with my woman now, what I do with her, I kind of love her down. It's easy to love her because her requirements are within the scope of what I naturally do. Some people may look at that as like not putting in the right amount of effort, and I think it's crazy to have to put in so much effort. You ladies want men to impress y'all, in the dating phase, and a man will do it because the dating phase, well, I shouldn't say the dating phase, the get to knowing phase. Because the get to knowing phase is short lived. What you in the get to knowing phase? 30 days? What dude can't keep up a facade for 30 days? Yeah, you keep up the facade for 30 days, and then now you think that's who he is. You fall for him. You want to be in this committed relationship because he's doing everything. He's fantastic. He's great. No, he about to fall off a cliff, and he's about to take your heart with him. And now all of a sudden you think he was lying. All these dudes play games. They just do what they do to get what they want. No, he was doing what you required for him to get what he wanted. Y'all are not accustomed to adding value to men when you first meet them. I can ask you, I guarantee you ladies don't know how to add value to men. First and foremost, you ladies call men partners, and that's one of the worst things you should ever call a man. But y'all refer to men as partners all day long. Partners are equal. You guys don't want men to do for you. Men don't do for you what you're supposed to do for men. If you guys are partners, then y'all can do the exact same things for each other, and it wouldn't matter because now it's androgynous. We don't know if male, female. What's a partner? We
I
don't
would
know if
push
gay,
back on the
straight.
partner point.
Say what?
I would push back on the partner point. I do believe that all partnerships are not 50-50. You can
I
only
didn't say partnerships. I said partner. A
okay.
partnership
Yeah.
and a partner is two different things.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if we have a partnership, then you're my partner. But yeah.
What was the hierarchy in there? In the word partner, what's the hierarchy?
Well, I understand people may perceive that it means 50-50, but I just think that's incorrect.
You tell me what's the hierarchy then?
I know for me, I mean,
No. In the word partner, when
Yeah.
someone says that's my partner, you don't know anything else, but that's my partner.
Mm-hmm. So you assume that this person is in business with you, but that doesn't mean that he's he's the decision maker. You're the decision maker. One of you can be a decision maker, and one of you may have the final say, and may put in more.
Right.
One of you
So
may have more money into it, more skin in the game.
so if I'm talking to you and you say this is my partner over here, I'm going to think I can talk to him or her about whatever I can talk to you about. There's no distinguish between the two. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to think, why would I? Am I supposed to ask? Okay, well, who's the boss? I mean, once you say my partner, I'm going to associate that as equal.
Yeah, I don't think it's. You can definitely like even your wife. Yeah, you can talk to her about certain things, but she gonna be like, "Let me ask my husband." Y'all can we in
That's
this.
because she shouldn't refer to me as her partner. If she got to ask me, that
Mhm.
means she's incapable or she doesn't have permission to make the decision alone.
Yeah,
Hold the
and
panel.
I don't
Hold
want
the
y'all to
panel.
think that I'm not one of them people who think that I'm right, but I do push back and I do try to process things as we talk about it. So you could be right, I could be wrong.
I welcome that. I'm
Yeah.
not.
Hold the panel and ask, do the men have a problem with being called a partner? I'm curious.
My wife called me Darwin or Honey. That's my wife refer to me or as her husband. But I do
Daddy.
kind of understand what real dope daddy was saying because it's and you just correct me if I'm wrong, Will. When you made a statement or when somebody made a statement, hey, look, if I'm gonna make a decision, or a woman is finna make a decision, she gonna ask her, well, let me go ask my husband or my partner. Wouldn't that actually make sense if you are indeed partners? That you would make a decision without the knowledge, without the other partner having the knowledge of it. And this doesn't mean I'm subscribing to the whole partnership thing. It's just trying to get clarity.
So
So
repeat that.
I'm gonna. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say this. I'm with you, Will. I don't agree with the word partner at all, and that's just simply because of the way partner is perceived. We could get into semantics if we want to, but we know damn well when somebody say partner, then we're talking about equality, right? Isn't that what women scream nowadays is equality, right? Women want to have an equal say. Women want to be independent, and that's fine, but that's just not for me. And a lot of desirable men they're going to share the same sentiment. They don't want to be acknowledged as a partner. That's just not what it is. You're my wife, but you ain't partner. And I dig it. I dig it what he's saying, because it's not an equal situation.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same thing. I don't like the word partner. Growing up, I've never heard married couples refer to each other as partners. This is more something modern that I've been hearing as of lately, and I don't know why, but I don't see the problem as to why, if you are married, you can't say husband or wife. But if you're not married, then I don't know what terminology is being used.
My man, my woman.
Yeah, my woman, your man, yeah. But I've just never heard partner being used so loosely as I do nowadays. So that's my stance on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine is I don't like being called. I wouldn't like being called a partner either. But again, it's my man, my husband, or my name. Because it feels as though it's like minimalizing you as a man. It feel like when they, and I know you're not doing it intentionally. It's just the jargon or how people speak currently. Because I think they make room for LGBTQIA when they talk about relationships. And I think
what
that's
it's for.
why people, not saying y'all specifically did it, but I think that's why they added it to the lexicon of words that we use.
Well,
Yeah.
I think me personally, I think when I hear married women talk about their husbands, they actually refer to them as husbands. But I have noticed that in general, when we're talking about general conversations, or you know what I mean, you tend to hear the word partner be thrown around, but hardly ever do I see married women refer to their husbands as anything other than their husbands. Now, if you're talking about like I heard them reference partnership, but normally I don't, you know what I mean? I don't normally hear them reference them as my partner.
Yeah, I know.
I think
last time I did research on a partner or partnership or where it came from, and it may be something against this. This just was a little research, and it probably could have been different. But what I found is that the terms were more. It made more sense to use the terms when the LGBT community started to come up on the rise and stuff. So instead of saying, "Oh, that's my man, that's my woman, that's my boyfriend, that's my girl," you got to understand that the people who, what is it called, gender non-conforming or something like that, would rather use the term partner instead of that's my girlfriend or that's my boyfriend, because some of these relationships were man and woman and women, or either whoever didn't want to even identify
Unorthodox.
biologically. So partner was made sense to use that term.
Here's the way I look at it too. I mean, I agree with everything the gentleman said. Those are a lot of the talking points I use around this topic. But here's another one that I don't ever hear anybody say that I scream from to the rafters. Listen, which title is superior, husband or partner? Which title has superiority attached to it, I should say?
I mean, just hearing it, I would say husband.
You said which title has superiority attached to it?
Yeah, between husband and partner. I
to it,
just said it was, to me, it sounded like husband would if you brought those two.
What if it's two women and one of them is, what do they call it? One in the film and
Yeah,
one is the.
I don't talk about homosexuality. So what I'm saying is, my reception back. Can y'all hear me?
It's freezing up a little bit on mine.
Y'all. Hold on, let me get out this car.
I mean, it just make logical sense though. Like, I mean, one wouldn't be superior to the other. I understand what you're saying, but I'm just trying to entertain the pushback.
I think like we often, like people that, you know, they don't want to put nothing under biblical. They're like, oh, it's like a business. So using business terms does not take anything away from what you're trying to explain. If you're merging with somebody that is one entity, merging with another entity to come into partnership to make whatever deal happen. That's basically what a business deal is. I know if Lapeef, if he partnered with Netflix, oh, this is a big thing. It's a big hit. So I just think that I don't think the people that say it sometimes are trying to dilute it. You know what I'm saying? It's just because it's a new word introduced into social constructs of relationship. I don't think if a woman's talking about a partner, I don't think she's trying to take away the fire and the dominance.
I understand. I understand what people are not trying to do.
Like charge it to my head, you know, not my heart. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Will, let's get to them questions that you wanted to ask the ladies. I don't want to spend too much time on this partner.
Okay.
Talk. What questions you
I wanted to ask ladies. I mean, I don't know if any of y'all are single, but for those of you that are single, and then if you aren't single, I mean, if you're single, you can answer this. You should be able to answer this. And if you're not single, if you were single, how would you answer this? Do y'all believe y'all can get the kind of man y'all desire?
Damn, nobody got the cricket sound effect.
Crickets, god damn. Yo,
Yeah.
why is it so quiet?
Who said yeah?
Me.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you single?
Yeah.
Wait. So then why don't you have them?
Oh,
Because I'm not in that space right now. Not in
Wait a
that.
minute. Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you can get the kind of man you desire, do you think it would be easier for a man? Well, I don't know what you mean by I'm not in that space. Y'all
No,
use
no,
such loose
I'm not.
terminology.
I'm not in the space right now because there's just some things that I personally I'm trying to achieve a little bit, like some small goals I'm trying to meet, and I have to focus on
Is there anything a woman needs to focus on where she couldn't also have a man while she focused on whatever it is she's trying to do?
I mean, yeah, that's
Like
true.
what?
And well, if she's doing schooling, she can focus on the man, or if she, at a job, she can focus on the man too.
How,
But
how does how does a
right.
woman, if she can't focus on the man while she's in school, how then can she focus on him when she's in her career?
No, that might be hard, but I've seen some people do it. I've seen people do it. I've seen married couples do it. Even how sports.com.bay, Bay. I've seen a lady, she has gone for her doctorate and she's fully married. So people can maintain.
Marcus,
I'm not married.
No,
Marcus,
I'm saying that people that can.
Marcus. That's why I tell you, the ring by spring is not for black women. Black women don't subscribe to
It
ring by
should
spring.
be.
But it's not about
It
that.
They
should
don't
be.
think
I got my
I love how black
they
men
don't think they can focus on school. They don't think they can
But
focus
I
on
did
whatever.
focus on school. I dated and went to school at the same time. And things like that. And after school was finished, I got married. So boom. I don't know what you're
Wait,
trying to
then
say.
why? No, why'd you use that as an example? Then,
Because
if it did,
you were using that as an example. You're saying that it's not achievable, but some women do achieve it. They finish school and they just get married. Like you said, the ring by spring. Okay, good. You can be engaged and then you can get married a year or two later.
no, I had asked you, what is it that a woman can't? What is it that a woman can't be in a relationship while she's focused on? And you said school while she's pursuing her degree or whatever.
Yeah,
So you
some women
said,
can't. I mean, if to be honest, like sports based said, right? If a person is focused on it, regardless of any race, regardless of any people, if that's not their focus, they're not gonna focus on it, right? So maybe they're just entertaining it, maybe they're just dating, maybe their focus isn't actually getting married. You know what I'm saying? So people have different focuses and intentions when they are going through these institutions and when they are out in the dating world. Some people can't multitask, and we have to be real about that. You know what I'm saying?
but that applies to anybody and anything, right? When we say some
Mhm.
people, we're talking about the overwhelming majority. I think if we're going to say some people, it defeats the purpose of ever having these conversations, because
Right.
there's always going to be somebody that falls into the category of some people, or this doesn't apply to these people. Well,
Right.
the overwhelming majority of black women.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask the other two ladies real
Yeah.
quick. Miss Empress and Miss Sportscom, are you ladies single?
Yes.
Single, yes.
Do y'all believe y'all can get the kind of man y'all desire?
I think there's not a concrete answer in that, because I believe that what I may desire is different from what I may need based off of God's plans for my life. There's a lot of things that we desire.
Come on, Empress. Empress,
Where we going? Where we going?
shouldn't you match your desires to what you need?
Sometimes if I'm going
But
based
I'm
off
talking about you, not people, you.
Right. And I'm answering, if I'm going based off of God's will and plan for my life, the person I may desire and the desires of my heart may not be what's good for me. So God will provide the person that I need.
That's
Maybe break
God
it
don't
down
work
for
like that. God don't provide people for people.
I think that's your unique perspective on that. But as a woman of faith, as a Christian in my faith, I believe that God will align me with the right person, regardless if I believe that's who I desire. It'll come
And
in his
w-
divine timing. It'll be the person that I need versus
Well,
the person that I desire.
well, if I may,
And if
what
we want to talk about, excuse me, sorry, let me land. What type of desires are we talking about? We're talking about flesh, material like desires, right? So those
whatever.
things change over time as somebody grows mentally, spiritually. So to me, that's that there's no concrete answer in that for me.
Empress, right now, what type of man do you desire?
I desire a kind person, a leader, a man of faith, a man who could build, and a man who can love, and a man who's respectful, and a man who was ready and willing at this moment right now to work towards a committed relationship. And
Okay.
that's not common these days and
And
at
what
this moment.
and what about the quantifiable things like income, height, whatever it looks? Do you desire anything over there too?
There are preferences, but I understand that sometimes when you meet people where they're at, you can meet a guy, he's not at the income that you want him to be at. But what is he doing to elevate himself in that aspect? So it's not a hard, like, some women are like, I forgot the popular song, but he got to make like 7 or 8 figures or something like that with the city girls. That's not realistic.
Just give us an ideal marker, like just an ideal. What's ideal for you?
At least the early 6 figures, like 100K, at least. Knowing what the statistics are, most Black men are not making that.
What about height?
Height.
Does that matter?
You just got to be taller than me. I'm 5'4 1/4, and I claim all of my quarter.
You open the door.
I got a question real quick.
You open the
for,
dating
for
outside the
Empress.
race, Empress?
Hey,
I'm
before
sorry,
y'all move it, can we get sports com answer? Can we
What was
get
that, Bruiser?
I want to just stay here for a second. I
Actually,
had
when you
something
open the
important.
dating outside of the race, knowing that most men don't fit the standard that you had.
And that's what, like, to be honest, that's what I'm saying. It's not a hard answer for me. Like, I need me a Black man, right? So whoever fits
wait, what if God send you a white man?
and he might, and maybe
Wait,
hold on, let me land. Uncle Will, please let me land. Maybe I have not arrived to that mental, spiritual growth yet for me to understand that maybe a Black man is not for me. It takes time. It's a very transformative, intuitive process. There's no hard, concrete answer to this thing.
So I had to ask. I just got to ask you: are you seeking God's face? You know that term, right? You're biblical. Seeking God's face. Are you seeking God's face?
You answering for me. Am I picking and choosing?
That's not picking and choosing. Talking. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that,
but that's
God communicates with us, right? But I feel like you don't speak His language. Sometimes a lot of, not you personally, but just women in general, don't speak God's language. God is not telling you to wait on 100K man. I don't think God talks like that. To be honest. Well, that's what you just said that's what you were that's what you just said you were looking for. You said that's what you were looking for. And if God was talking to you, He would have told you that's probably not realistic. And the reason why I brought up the point, I brought up the point last week about ring before spring, because other cultures somehow find a way to get a ring before spring. They're very intentional about it. And I see Black women always talk about God's going to land me one, but He's not. It doesn't work like that. Relationships it's going to happen because you were intentional about it. You have to look for it. You can't just wait for God to help me. That doesn't work like that. Like just how you took that same effort to go to school, you were intentional about it. You did the things that you needed to do to prepare for life, to get the career that you want. You didn't say God was going to make me a doctor. I went to school. I prepared myself for that. You got to put that same energy into getting a man. And women don't think like that ever. They always talk about, I know how to prepare, how to get this career, but you don't know how to prepare to put yourself in position to land that man that you're looking for. Do you even know what these dudes are looking for that got that 100K? There are black men who doing it. It's a lot of us out here getting it. But if you're not in those rooms, if you ain't got one by now, you're doing something wrong. And a lot of women don't want to come to that realization. You're doing something fucked up and you'll dig it. That's the problem.
But Trev,
And the biggest problem is she won't let brothers like us tell her she's doing it wrong.
But I never said what you said that I'm saying. I said he asked, "What is my?"
You ain't have to. But carry on.
When you gave the message of
now, hold on, pause. Let me land. I'm not cutting anybody short. When he asked, "What about income? What about height? All those things," I said that could be a preference, right? 100K, and I also stated that realistically, a lot of black men may not be making that based off of statistics. And if we're talking about after taxes, what is 100K really? And I said that we also have to understand that we may meet people at a certain level, but I think the most important thing is understanding what are they doing to work on themselves. Just for example, I can't be a woman who's requiring 100K just for an example, and I'm making 20K. I need to understand.
Yes, you can.
Can I land, please?
Yeah.
Can I land, please?
Hold on, I'll just let them finish, okay?
Thank you. So for me to understand, what am I doing to elevate myself in that right as well? And again, the way, I don't want to argue about, who's seeking God's face and all that, because I don't even know what God we talking about at this point. Everybody's serving him in a different type of way. Everybody's subscribing to him in a certain type of way. Some people are Christians, some people are Baptists, whatever the case is. But I just don't want to be misinterpreted in that fact that I'm making that a requirement when I also added the detail of that might not be a reality. And understanding that growth has to set in, spiritual growth, mental growth, all of that, for me to understand that my desires may not be what's good for me. And the Lord makes it clear for me. And I will, by doing my own work and listening to his will, according to his will, and walking in that, I will end up with the person that I'm supposed to be with. Of course, I cannot just sit here and think my man is going to end up on my doorstep.
okay. Miss Sportscom, could you answer the question?
Hey, hold tight, Will. Let me just get a guy in there real quick. And White, what are you thinking about the conversation so far? What are your thoughts?
I'm just the only thing that's coming to mind is we got to make sure we keep the ladies engaged in the conversation, and we make sure we let them get their full answer out. So, it's a lot of us not on the panel. We don't want to bark over them or intimidate them in any way. So let's just, keep the questions going, but just make sure we give room to speak.
No intimidation, none whatsoever. Thank you, N. White. I appreciate you, though. But I would like to say, Will, are you going to ask me, or are you going to tell me what I should give you the answer to be?
No, I asked you. I didn't tell you anything. I asked her, I asked Wife School, I asked Empress, and I asked you. I didn't tell them, so why would I tell you?
Okay, I'm just asking because
How did you come to that? How did you draw to that question?
Because you asked the question and the ladies answer, but you're telling them no. That's not what I'm saying. It's like you want us to give you an answer that you're thinking of.
Well, Miss Wife School said yes, and I just asked her why don't she have them. Miss Empress said it's kind of in between. That's why we had that long dialogue. I didn't tell them their answers was wrong. I didn't tell Wife School her answer was wrong. I just asked her why don't she have them.
Oh, okay, all right.
Hold on, come on now, come on. You got a PhD now. Now I know you didn't hear me tell this woman that she was wrong.
All right, Mr. Will, but you also didn't let me land. I continuously had to ask you, can I please land? Can I please land?
Well, hold on. I wasn't the only one talking, so don't.
Right,
My man,
It was mainly
hold on, y'all.
Okay,
Hold on.
JR, you can go ahead and you can move on because
we're all adults here.
Myself, Empress, and I, we have to hop off at midnight.
Ooh. Well, could you answer before you go? Because I just want to hear it, and I'll jump off, so I won't interrupt the party anymore.
No, I'm straight. You can go ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. All right, y'all. Well, I appreciate it, JR. I had one more question, JR, if I may, before I go. I wanted to know what these ladies meant by elevate the person that you're with. Like, I don't. What do they mean by that? I don't think Sportscom gonna answer it because she already checked out on me. So maybe Empress and Wife School can answer it.
Elevate as in pour into one another and give each other the space and the grace to grow, and also providing the things that are a part of your strengths to fill in the gaps in like with their weaknesses to bolster them as a person. That's what elevate means. And it doesn't always have to be around tangible stuff that people are so high strung off of. It's not about a bag and income, but it's about spiritual, mental, emotional spaces in one's life.
I think Wife School said that he has to come already elevated, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
Like when y'all, one of you ladies said that the man has to come already put together.
That wasn't me.
Yeah. You probably read in the comments.
No, one of you ladies said it on the panel. I don't remember who said it, but y'all said a man has to come. Maybe it was Sportscom. I mean, am I tripping? Trev, did somebody?
I didn't.
No, it was absolutely said. I remember hearing that.
I've dated all kinds of men. I've dated men with 4 children, 4 different women. I've dated blue-collar, white athletes, et cetera, et cetera. So I did not say that.
I didn't say neither one of you ladies said it. I said I thought it was Wife School, but if she didn't say it, I don't know. I know one of you ladies said it, but you know what? It don't matter. Signing off. Y'all have yourselves a wonderful evening. I appreciate it. AJR, thanks for sending me the link. I wish we could have got a little bit greasier, but you know, I'm gonna just go clean the kitchen up for y'all.
No did.
Y'all take it easy.
All right, Will.
It's 11:54 at night. His kitchen's still dirty. Foul on the plate. It's a damn shame, Will.
All right, go ahead, Real Dope. I know you been sitting on the sideline.
I don't even. I'm not sure where I was, if I was talking.
No, I wasn't. You was talking. I just didn't know if you wanted to add something, man. It was just trying to level set a little bit.
Oh no.
So I do got a question for Sports Combat. Do you you said earlier that you felt like the man had become sassy in this generation or the dating market. What things are you running into that you really feel that way behind?
When I say sassiness, I'm not trying to say that those are the type of men that I date. I'm just speaking on conversations that I have, not basically off of social media and what I'm seeing on social media, because you can't believe everything, but just having conversations with my girlfriends, female friends, cousins, et cetera, et cetera. And when I say sassy, it's not a sassy of you're giving me gay vibes or what have you, but it's this space of who's leading, who's not leading.
Lack of masculinity?
Yeah, it's just that like I want to feel like you're leading and I'm safe with you and I'm not having to ask you of certain things. You know, I mean, there are women that want men to lead, to make those choices and decisions. And again, I don't have a problem being submissive. It's nice when you don't have to think and you can just say, let me go ask my husband or let me go ask my boyfriend. There are women that crave that and we're seeking that, but it's just, you have some men out there that will give it. And then you have some men that are just not interested. But like we've all been discussing, you know, you just pick and choose what you want to give those needs and desires to.
Do you think and this is not to say anything about your friends and all, but do you think they are in relations with men long enough to even determine that?
Yes. I've had friends that have been in relationships for years, even married for years, straight out of high school or straight out of college. And like been talking about the person evolving and changing and transitioning, and you're kind of seeing this person maybe a little bit differently. And those wants and those desires and those needs are kind of switching up. I don't agree with divorcing with somebody transitioning and changing because we grow as we're a teenager into adulthood. But yeah, I don't know.
Can you give me an example? Like, because I don't know exactly what that means. Because one thing that I've known about marriage and relationships is that people change over time. Like and I often say this, it takes a lifetime to get to know your wife. It takes a lifetime to get to know your husband because you don't know how they're going to handle different seasons in life. You don't know how they're going to handle death. You don't know how they're going to handle potentially the loss of a child, childbirth, having a child, losing a parent, old age. So Can you give me an example of this change or something that they may have done that may make someone believe that they're, so to speak, sassy, if that makes sense?
I will say I had a friend that they were high school sweethearts, got married out of college, and just showing these traits of, we've been together for so long, and I think it's this place of complacency. As a man, he just was not providing those needs and those wants, and just kind of like, I think Empress, you had mentioned, and also wife school, just kind of sitting back and not really providing, because he's been providing for all of these decades. And
So,
she's just kind of feeling like, I don't have a problem of serving, but I'm finding that the roles are kind of becoming reverse.
what? Hold
Do
on.
you think her lifestyle? Because the older people tend to get right. You have people who expand their lifestyle and start to view some luxury items or luxury things as necessities. Do you think that could have played a part on it? Like when they first got together, his income was enough to support the lifestyle they lived. But as she grew, she felt she needed, I don't know, maybe they went on one trip a year. Now she wants to go on 2 trips. Maybe she was happy with one bag or no bag. Now she saw a friend get a bag. Do you think that's what's happening, or is it something different than that? Because I heard you say need and wants.
Yeah, I would probably say, without saying too much, emotional stability, also the wandering eye, I think kind of drifting off.
So in terms of masculinity, and I think I understand what you're saying. When you say the roles were reversed. She being a man, she leading, she's getting everything started. She's the vision, and he's taking the back seat. I see that a lot in guys too, unfortunately. But isn't it fair that women in this climate, this climate dating, should show men grace that are coming into the relationships with a lack of masculinity, just off the strength that the women are electing, and it might not be intentionally, but
Yeah.
women are electing to raise these kids without the necessary tool, the necessary resource, which is the father, to make sure that those guys are masculine coming out of the household into relationships. The guys that's coming into the dating market should get some type of grace, because the women are actually predisposing them to having a lack of masculinity. So do you think that women should show more grace to men?
I mean, me personally, I do think some women, they do need to show grace. Empress B, we know, sometimes some women, I'm like, you are like a dog with a bone. Like all this man did was say hello. All he did was introduce himself. All he did was ask you your name. What do you like to do? And you're automatically coming in being defensive, right? You're not even giving that man grace. But again, I have to talk about those traumas, that PSD, whatever past experiences you've dealt with men in the past, you are bringing it into this new relationship, and you are just penalizing men that they're not even trying to marry you tomorrow. They're just asking you, what is your name? Would you like to go out? And you're automatically just judging him from the jump. I don't like that. I have seen women be so disrespectful. A man who's just like, I want to buy you a drink. I'm not trying to get your number. I'm just trying to do something nice. He doesn't always want something, right? And I'm not just saying this to say this. I'm just saying from what I've seen in just my years of dating and being in relationships. Women have to stop coming off so defensive and so nasty and being demeaning to men and breaking their masculinity. It's not cute. Women like to show off in front of their friends too. I see that as well.
To the point that Darwin was making earlier, right? So I've been able to observe some family lives of kindergartners. They're not quite toddlers, like 5, 6, 7. The difference in the kids who have fathers is literally night and day. You can almost see the trajectory of a kindergartner that is not going to go well for them. They can't control themselves. They hit. They don't know how to be structured and sit still. They lash out. This is girls and boys. They pick at the other kids. They do all of these things. I think the most underrated thing, like just men in general, right? Because you could want to you could want to have luxury items and necessities, but for anybody that has a child, you got to put your child before all of those things. Because like you can't sentence your child to a death sentence or jail or failure just because you wanted to stunt, just because you wanted to look good on IG, just because you wanted a new bag. I think that's probably one of the most selfish things a woman can do, or any parent can do. When you have kids, your life is not about you anymore. And masculinity doesn't it might not be attractive to some people the way it necessarily needs to be for them to be head over heels in love. But the lack of that masculinity in the household, it's got long-term consequences. And I don't know if the women who are walking away from those scenarios are saying, I don't need a man, I can raise this child by myself, really understand how detrimental to the kids it is.
I wanted to add something to Sports Combat. A lot of times, and I'm not saying that this is the situation, but a lot of times if a man just don't like you like that, you're going to think he's sassy. Because I'll give you an example. One time this girl liked me, right? And she lived a couple states away. And she said, "Hey, I want to drive out there and see you." And I didn't really like her that much. She like kind of pursued me, and I was like, "All right, cool, you can come out here, I'll see if I do like you in person, see if it's different." And when it came time for that, she asked, "Could we meet halfway?" I was like, "No. Like, I'm not driving a state over. I don't like you like that. Like, you got to come all the way to me if you like me and show me why I should like you." And I can see her telling her friends like, "Oh, he was sassy. He was trying to get me to come out there and see him and all this like type of stuff." But I didn't like her like that. So, I'm pretty sure it's a lot of situations where men just don't like women like that, and they being called sassy. But it was another thing I wanted to say. In terms of like you said, I'm assuming you was talking about like a relationship of a friend that you have, and kind of you witnessing. Is that something that you see, or is it something that kind of like over the years you talking to her and confiding in you, you pick up on, or is it something that you physically see?
Yeah, we all went to school. We grew up together. So I knew friends with the both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew him, I knew her. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And you're saying that he changed over time?
Oh, yeah.
So the change that we're talking about, you witnessed the change, or is that something just from conversations you'll talk about, or?
Seen it and witness it, and also conversations with her.
Okay. So I was just gonna say, gotta always be careful. And I always try to keep like my lady grounded when she's telling me about things that she heard from her friend or whatever. And I'm just like, hey, that's her experience. That's how she's experiencing that situation. Doesn't mean it's true, but she's experiencing that situation like that. So don't think that he's like this because she's telling you that.
Right.
Just always listen and do what you got to do, but always keep in the back of your head that people experience the same thing differently, the same situation that we haven't. I might think you said something and you didn't say it, but it felt like you said it, in an argument. So that's
right.
all.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely not one to tell my friends to leave their man or whatever the case. That's not my business. But I'm also not a woman that will. First of all, I'm going to ask my friend, because as girlfriends, we know each other. We know each other's attitudes. We know how we move in relationships, and we keep it a buck with each other, Empress B and I and my other girlfriends. We're like, all right, now, girl, like, were you tripping on him? Like, go apologize to that man. You were bugging out, or what is your problem? Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Like, communicate with him, apologize with him. But that's just how we are. But that's just how my parents are. That's how my mother is with me. She was like, you don't put your hands on a man, he doesn't put his hands on you. Fix your attitude, you communicate, you talk to him, you never demean him. He's a man. You're respectful, just like he should be respectful of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mother always said, let me tell you something, never ever try to break up a marriage or a relationship with your friend, because at the end of the day, they're going to lay their head down at night and they're going to talk about you. So you stay out of it and I stay out of it. So I agree what you said. Real dope daddy.
You're probably the only person. Y'all the only ones that can say the man name. We can't say that shit. It's
that's a definite pause.
Yeah, the information that's being shared with you, you have to be careful with that. Absolutely.
So so my question is, because this is what I was really trying to get to the bottom of, and this is just not only for us but for the audience as well, because when people talk about somebody changing over time, I kind of like to get specific on what that change may look like. So one, people can actually see what to look out for if that's actually a detriment, but then also somebody may be going through that and it may not be as bad as we think it is. So sports, I know, and I know this is your friend, but we don't know your friend. None of us know her. Can you tell me exactly what you mean by he changed? Like an example of like changing.
Switched. I mean, I'm not gonna say too much, but he switched careers. Like I said, wandering eye. I mean, they're no longer together. They've been separated for quite some time now. Well, divorced. But he changed. Like I said, we grew up together, so I've known them since we were teenagers.
So he switched careers. Did he switch careers for the worst, or was it like what is?
I mean, he switched careers for the better, but it wasn't a healthy relationship, and it had ran its course.
All right, so if I can just kind of like spitball this real quick, and you let me know if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So when he switched careers, was it one of those type of situations where he started smelling himself?
Yes.
Okay, it makes sense. All right. So translation, if everybody don't know what that means, he got a better job. He started smelling himself, and when she says wandering eye, she means he was out there stepping out potentially.
Yeah.
I got a question for Sports Combat. Because you are an educated woman, PhD. When you are looking for a man, like, do you want a man that can teach you? And let's say your man doesn't have he's not as decorated as you know, when it comes to education and paperwork. Let's say he has a high school diploma. Do you think a man can still teach you?
Absolutely. I had a boyfriend. He was, he went to trade school, worked in a factory. He cheated on me, but but when I first met him, I wasn't asking him like, hey, what do you do for a living? He was very charming. He introduced himself. We met at a football game in Miami. So, from there we were together for 2 years. Unfortunately, he cheated on me. He had a son. I loved his son. But yeah, I don't know everything. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. Women, we don't know everything. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. I am an open book. I love to learn. I want my man to teach me. I want him to educate me. And I hope that there are things that I can teach him, but it's that balance, right? But that's the whole like humbling yourself as a woman. You don't know everything. And sometimes you have to be quiet, listen, and hear him out.
You all right with me?
I was talking to somebody about that, but to the humbling yourself part. I'm the type of person, right? I'm very hard-headed to an extent, and a woman anybody really trying to argue with me to get me to do something, I damn near will do the opposite to my detriment just to show you can't make me do anything, right? That I don't feel is right or what I want to do. I think the best way for a woman to affect change in a man is through full submission, because it may seem as though you're being weakened, but what you really do is kind of push the ball in the man's court where he has to put up or shut up. You know what I'm saying? And like arguing them down, trying to physically fight. Like if you like that type of man, that's like you would say dominant, like the dominant type of man, it never works. That's why I kind of like the power couple thing. It still would have to divert into a power, or not a power, but it still have to divert into a dominant submissive energy in order for it to work. And I think that's really overlooked. And the femininity of women is their master tool, their master weapon, right? And I'd like to thank you all for being on the panel and just maintaining your composure, even if you felt like you got. And we appreciate you. We understand it's not that easy to come up, and sometimes conversations can go in a lot of different ways. I just want to let you know we appreciate y'all. We really do.
Mm. To add to what Marcus said though, yeah, a lot of men, I would argue most men, when you buck, they buck back. They largely don't respond kindly to aggression, threats, orders. You know what I mean? We tend to buck back. And sometimes it will cause and sometimes, like you said, it would be to the detriment of the relationship. Because when he buck, he's gonna be like, the hell with all of this shit.
To me, femininity is a superpower, right? Pretty much going off what Marcus said. I think that the issue is a lot of times some men have abused their power. So there's instances where women feel like they have to stand up so they don't get ran over again, right? So let's just say sports combat. We're not going to say this is your situation, but I could say a situation similar to yours. Let's say if a man cheated, you might not have ever looked through anyone's phone before. You probably let him do him. If he was going out somewhere, you wouldn't question him. You gave, he had that liberty to be able to do what he wanted to do. I'm sure in most cases, similar to yours, the next female's relationship would now be, now they starting to need verification and stuff like that. Right. And any situation where a man may have either been dishonest or abused his power can cause a woman to sometimes bring the older situation into another situation, not because they want to go into a situation in bad faith, but just because they don't want to be taken advantage of.
And by the way, I love your hairstyle. You did that on the natural side. That's fine.
I think that's why a lot of women talk like that nonsense when they talk about like, oh, I'm not doing husband things for a boyfriend. They say like I'm not gonna cook for him and all that type of stuff. I think that come from like situations like that, even though it's idiotic to say something like that. But I think it always comes from situations like that. And they think it makes sense. Like,
I mean, but at the same time, it's a traumatic event, right? So that's how humans respond to trauma. So if anything that ever happens to you, you try not to let it happen to you again. If you got robbed before, probably for the rest of your life, your head on swivel, right? It's a natural response. So it doesn't mean that it still should happen, right? It's important for females to go into a situation in good faith, right? And women's intuition can be good. It can be good, but it just has to be directed in the right way. And your best defense against the cheating is to, in most cases, pour into that man. If you're giving that man everything and you're not leaving anything on the table, then it's a lot harder for him to do that. It's always going to be outliers. There's always going to be situations, but I would encourage the women to not go into a new situation in bad faith, because at that point you just might miss your blessing. And unfortunately, it's one of those situations where it's no risk, no reward. Relationship is full of risk. You both are extremely vulnerable. You have to put your trust into another human who has autonomy. So that's it's a scary thing when you have to put your faith into someone else. But it's a necessary evil for you to have a successful relationship. You have to have that faith and you have to have that trust in that person. Of course, in your vetting process, you have to pay attention to the signs. And a lot of us don't pay attention to red flags. When I look at people right now, I'm like, what's your family look like? I'm looking to see if you have obesity in your family. I'm looking to see if you have trauma, if you had dysfunction. And I'm shying away from that. And some people may say, hey, I'm not giving them a fair shake, but I don't care, because at the end of the day, I'm putting my trust in a person. So it's like there's certain things that I think we should avoid, but we might like a person, we might be really attracted to a person, and we'll ignore the red flags in the beginning and try to shape a person into what it is that we want. Like Will was saying a little earlier, I always tell people to just be yourself in a relationship and don't try hard. And as silly as it sounds, you say relationships is work, but getting along shouldn't be work, right? Pouring into a person shouldn't be work, because you should naturally want to do that, because like I was saying a little earlier, that's an extension of you. You should want to pour into that person. Investing in them is investing in you, right? And if you a slob, be a slob in the beginning. If you're a neat freak, be a neat freak in the beginning. If you like to go out, then go out. If you're a homebody, don't try to make it seem like we about to go to all these restaurants and everything for things that are just not sustainable.
That's interesting what your because I think those are good indicators and stuff. For me specifically, I think the number one indicator for me is willingness. Because like say she does have a family history of being like obese, if she's willing, like a real this goes to the full submission thing. Like a woman that's really willing to like dedicate herself to making sure she doesn't turn out to be like that. Cause we have to be attracted. I'm gonna speak for myself. I have to be attracted to you to stay in a relationship and have sex with you, or it won't work. It just won't. So if she's dedicated to working on maintaining that, if like you have obesity, so you put it together a regimen, like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym 3 times a week, or I'm gonna make sure my camera just went out.
Yeah, but we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I have a workout schedule that I'm really stringent on, because I don't want to put myself in a position where the man that I love is getting a new relationship. Because if I met you and I was attracted to you, I know we all age, but if you completely transform into a new person, that's like me completely transforming into somebody that beat you. You didn't sign up for this, I didn't sign up for that. That ain't cool. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't cool. But I think, Trev, you're on point with that. I think sometimes in the community, parents aren't perfect, and we got a lot of different type of scenarios for family circumstances. So just for me specifically, I think I give more leeway to that, to factor that in. But the willingness, I'm negotiating. I'm not negotiating on that, right? I need to know you willing to adhere to whatever like plan or program that I'm trying to push forward, so I can ensure those things that would be an issue that you discussed, we can prevent moving forward.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different than Trev on that one. And maybe it's because I just never had problems with from the certain types of problems from women, but I don't take that much into consideration certain things about their family, only because like I'm not gonna say I'll take you away from your family, but now you my family now. Like we building our own family, and I really don't care what they got going on. They don't got no say over here. If I'm working out, you working out. I don't care what your family look like. That don't. Yeah. And that's kind of always how I've been. Like, and I think a lot of times, like, families fell at protecting them and stuff like that. So I don't be liking people families anyway. Like, girls be like always got a story of how they was, something happened in their family. And I don't like how they was protecting you anyway. So I don't really got too much rap for people families.
So I definitely understand both of your sentiments, but what I would say is that there are situations where certain people, certain things have a propensity to fail, right? So let's just say I really like certain cars. I'm probably, if you want to not break down, you're probably going to go with Consumer Reports and say, I'm gonna get a Toyota, Lexus, or now BMW, because it does not have a propensity to fail, right? So it's just one of those things. I'm not saying that I would exclude everything. There would be special circumstances, but I try to be pragmatic about it when I make these type of choices, because you're going to have to live with that forever. And facts are, people bring generational curses with them. A lot of people don't break that. And I'm just going with, I try not to, because we always talk about females when we say, oh, y'all think about, possibilities rather than probabilities. So I just kind of use that same logic that we preach a lot of the time.
That's a fair statement. I don't think it's anything exactly wrong with it. I was just saying, due to the way the family circumstances, like I came out the crack era, we came out a lot of different. So families might be different. You know what I'm saying? So I try to kind of make room for that. But the other thing is why willingness is so important. So like, for instance, with conflict resolution, like you could come from a family that they fight, they yell and scream and they fight. Like my wife, she don't want to do nothing like that. So I end up in a relationship with nobody I never had a fight with, because she might have looked at that and said, that's never going to be me. That's not how I want to operate. Or the structure that I set up when she signed up for it, she said, okay, I understand I want to be with him enough that I'm going to make sure I don't operate like this, because I know this is not something he's going to tolerate. And we're going to discuss this like adults. You know, if you need some space or personal time to calm down, and you got it. But we're not going to be hurling insults and negativity back at each other. We're going to move forward and try and figure out what's wrong, how to move forward, as opposed to blame and I'm going to hold you accountable. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, but a lot of the problem is, like you said, we're coming from these different families, and the women are giving, raising the young men, and they're missing that masculine element, that pizzazz, that swag. and sometimes you just don't have it. You know what I'm saying? And you shouldn't be trying to get some wife and things like that, and like you just don't have it. You know what I'm saying? Get a mentor, invest in yourself, like Mr. Darwin, or people that have reputable marriages. There's some things, if if you're not having this, success, go find it. Go to your dad. Go rehash the relationship with your dad at this point. You're big enough to do that. Fix some things, heal those traumas, and move forward. Also, it's more detrimental for a woman to really vet herself for a mate, because she's attaching herself to this man's leadership and covering. And if this guy is bad, or he's putting that mask on, then it falls, you're like, oh my God, what did I get into? Now you 3 children in it. This is crazy. But still, we understand that we still have to perform inside of a marriage, and you can't necessarily get out of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just really detrimental for people to really vet extensively. Ask those questions. Ask them hard questions. I don't care where they came from. Your parents didn't protect you, so this and that. Ask the hard questions about the touching and this and that, because I'll guarantee you, like he said, that generational curse, it'll try to find its way to your children in some shape, way, or form. And we often always focus on the physical part, the money part, the financial part, but the spiritual part is just as important as all of that, even more important. And we can't make a baddie or whoever, we can't make these physical people into something that they're not. If the lady is not a wife, she's not a wife. If the man is not a husband, he doesn't show the characteristics of a husband, he is not a husband. You cannot change him. Your cooch cannot change him. The thing can't change the woman. No amount of money, it's not going to do it, because you're just making a transaction at that point. And that needs to be highlighted in the community as well, because we think that if we arrive and have the money, that the money can sway any situation, and I can buy her attention, I can buy her some. No, that's not how it's supposed to be. And I think we've got it up on its head at this point.
I think
so Marcus, the only thing I wanted to say real quick about Marcus, real quick. You remember how earlier you said that based on the children without fathers, you can kind of see the trajectory? Same logic.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I said the willingness is the number one thing, because you can see, you can't help nobody that ain't willing to help themselves, but somebody that's willing, extremely willing, they can turn around the situation. Because the logic for those kids, I agree, it's looking bad. But it's say one of those kids has some type of epiphany where they say, I'm gonna get up with a mentor or something, and I am determined to check. So pretty much that the willingness equates to determination to be different. So that would be the deciding factor for me. And I was gonna ask a question. I'm sorry, SCB Sports Combat. My question was, what's the longest you seen somebody keep a mask up? Because I hear people say that, and I'm very intuitive.
They say psychologically women can for longer than men. Women have up to 2 years where they can show you display their representative. Men shorter.
Yeah, women can put a mask on. A woman gonna be whoever you want her to be, whoever she think you want her to be, for a nice period of time.
I think that's the power of women. They're moldable, so they actually could become that person. But that's just my personal thing. All right,
go ahead, Sports Com. I know you're trying to get in there.
Oh no, I was just saying to Wife School podcast, just talking about, and I know I've brought this up before, but just talking with Black men and having Black men in my family, just Black women allowing Black men to just feel safe and being able to be in spaces where they can be vulnerable and they can talk about those traumas. And actually encouraging them to seek therapy or mentorship or speak to their pastor, whatever form of therapy that they can find to help them. I think that that's a beautiful thing. But we also, again, historically, society has not allowed Black men to be in those spaces. So they have to hold up that wall. They have to show resistance. They're like, I got to go out and I have to work and I have to provide for my family. I have to set my feelings to the side, make sure my wife is good, make sure my children are good, make sure my family is good. That's their main priority. And they've been doing that for over 400 years, right? But as Black women, again, I've seen some Black women just annihilate a man's spirit. Not allow him to feel safe, not allow him to be vulnerable, not allow him to be honest and truthful. If I'm asking you a question as my man and you give me an honest answer, why am I shooting you down looking for an answer that I'm seeking? I asked you a question. I'm giving you the space, but now I'm shooting you down. That's what I don't like. And I think that's a vice versa thing. If you ask me something and I'm telling you something, maybe you don't like it, but that's my truth. And you have to respect it, just like I have to respect you.
Right.
Again, I'm not going to know everything. I don't know everything. I'm learning every single day. This learning game, it goes on forever. But that's just you seeking the truth in yourself.
I wanted to answer Mr. M. White's question about the mask falling off and stuff like that. So for men, what I've heard and what I've seen, at least like 3 to 5 months, representative, by the fourth and fifth month, the representative falls off. And I have heard that for some women, they can maintain the representative until they get that ring and the character just flips completely upside down.
Bait and switch.
Period.
You gotta have.
I hear a lot of
safeguards in
men.
there.
You gonna go ahead? Because I do want to, got to be careful what I say. Make sure it's not a pause moment. But I got this ditty.
Pause.
You know what would have been
Damn
dope?
it,
The game before the men up.
God damn it.
Off. The men up who they picked the Darwin game.
Yeah. We're about to get up out of here real shortly, but I want to play this ditty video, and then it's not the actual video that y'all think it may be, but it's just.
Oh man.
Pause.
Y'all don't want to see the freak out, huh?
Come on, man.
But I do want to get you guys
That
thoughts.
was not the
because-
time to do that.
Who you talking me?
I'm talking about Trev.
No.
That was
Go
not
ahead,
the time to say that.
Just don't say that no more. Just drop it for us, man. Just drop it.
Here we go.
Trev
Is
said,
attorney
"Oh,
and legal
man."
affairs commentator Ariva Martin. Ariva, what is your reaction to how the defense is approaching this so far?
So, Brianna, we expected this. We know from the opening statement from the defense, a big part of their case is trying to get this jury to believe that Cassie Ventura was a consenting adult in these sexual acts, these freak-offs that we've heard so much about during her direct testimony. So a lot of what the defense has been doing today during this cross-examination is showing text messages and getting Cassie Ventura to acknowledge that, according to these text messages, she was a willing participant in some of these freak-offs. But one of the things that we haven't done or haven't heard yet, Brianna, is the connection between those text messages in the early stages of the relationship and the violence that we heard so much about during the direct testimony yesterday. And I think when the prosecution gets to redirect, we're going to see them try to link the violence that happened later in the relationship to her participation and make the argument still that she was being coerced into these commercial sex acts with escorts, despite how she may have felt about Sean Diddy Combs in the beginning of their relationship.
And Ariva, what do you make of the?
I'll be the first. I'll be the first to go.
Go ahead, Sweeney.
Fellas, I think we should sit this one out. I think we need to leave this one alone.
What happened?
Let's not touch this shit with a 10-foot pole. Let's wait on all the evidence, see whatever, because I do not think that it is great to offer our opinion on this particular topic.
I'm jumping off the ledge. I'm about to jump off the
Oh,
ledge.
shit, here we go.
Well, I think as a man in general, we are like, we know not to die on a hill, especially when we don't have evidence. I think that I think you should be. I know, like, girls a lot of times they just throw stuff out there and all that, but I do think as a man, anything that you can't speak on, based on like, oh, I don't know if she actually did this, then you should know better than to say stuff like that. But yeah.
Okay, so this is my jump off the ledge thought process with this. It's celebrity coercion. It's power coercion and it's money coercion. And it's the way that it seemed like they framing it is she was consenting verbally, consenting physically, but the reason that it's coercion and wrapping him up in a RICO is because his influence, celebrity, and power, her wanting to be around those things, made her susceptible to the negative manipulation that he was doing. If that's the case, can a celebrity date a woman? Because that's always going to be a part of that relationship.
Right.
I have a question just to clarify some things about what we watching. So is Cassie suing Diddy right here, or is this the government suing Diddy?
This is Rico. This is Rico.
Okay, so whether Cassie was consenting or not, she doesn't benefit because she already got paid. She doesn't benefit from proving him to be a bad guy or anything like that in this particular matter.
Yes, she does.
Maybe
her name is on the line.
Potentially, if she going in jail, but she's not at risk of going to jail, right?
No.
Her name is on the line, and her reputation. Plus, she may want revenge.
Her reputation for what?
Lying about putting him out there, or
y'all
because
know
people are right now. No, there are people on.
No, none of us care about Cassie. We're gonna forget about her in 2 days.
Crazy. You know how many content creators gonna be making her life hell, and how many videos is gonna be made about her lying, just like Megan Thee Stallion right now. How it's driving Megan Thee Stallion crazy right now about her lying.
That's different. We care about Megan Thee Stallion to some degree. Like Cassie, we're gonna forget about her in 2 days.
I don't care about Megan.
No, we won't.
Shit.
No, Megan is a caricature of something that we hate. So like Megan is a little different. Like,
so is Cassie right now.
The hot girl, all that.
She walked away with tens of millions of dollars, and if he's proven not guilty, it's gonna look like she just finessed him and kind of robbed him.
Right?
Because y'all can't say that. This is the problem. This is why I said I think
I'm there with Sweeney. I mean, we don't know.
Like, even if there was dynamics where she may have consented to some things in regards to, like, we all can't just gloss over the fact that we did see a video of him beating the dog shit out of her.
That's not what he's on trial for.
No, I'm not saying that's what
he's guilty of that.
No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that Cassie is there more or less as a character witness.
No, she was swimming in fucking pool of baby oil.
I know what I'm saying though is like
this is the most called comment ever.
Oh God, bro, come on.
Oh,
bro,
bro, yo. Oh
bro.
God, yo. What?
Joe.
Is that dude?
Yeah.
Whoa. No. Hey, I'm muting that nigga for the rest of the night. You get muted for the rest of the night.
Yo.
I'm putting that man in timeout.
Damn, son.
Hold on, why y'all shocked? Y'all act like it's niggas not in the industry doing shit like that. Worse.
Well, obviously
they don't say it out loud.
They don't say it out loud.
So it doesn't matter. It's still wrong. Right?
I mean,
So
I think
so
he's
like
joking. I had to be satire.
The outcome is
I
to get
pray.
30 million.
Right, school. Let me ask you this: if I'm say you meet me, you come to a basketball game, you meet me at the game. I just signed a contract for 250 million. Multiple women you see are clawing for me, and I pick you, and I go home with you, and you have sex with me that night, right? And then the next day you say, I didn't want to have sex with you. I only did it because you were a famous athlete. Do you think that was non-consensual sex?
No, that was consensual. If I went with you and everything, yeah.
So, all right, what about if we stay in a 1-year relationship and the only reason you're staying is because athlete, rich, and you might find me attractive?
That's just a regular relationship.
That's kind of what it sounds like Diddy on trial for. If you like boil it down and you remove all the freaky stuff out of it, because I think this case gonna come down to what does coercion and power look like, and how are we going to define coercion? Because if her argument is I didn't want to do those things, because he's only on trial for that, for not for the physical abuse. We all more than clear that his ass beat her, and he should have got booked for that, but he didn't get booked for that. The thing that he's actually on trial for is her saying she felt financially coerced into participating in these acts that she did not want to participate in.
Meantime, enjoying a couple Bentleys and some money.
Well, I thought you men said if a woman says no, then it's no,
right?
Or like when Shannon Sharp was like, the girl was like, okay, we're having fun, but when I said no because I don't want to do it today, that was not consent. But there probably were many times when there wasn't consent, and to account for that, whether I remembered or not, or whether I'm associated or not because of the trauma of like we don't even know all.
What do we do know? We do know that we do know this guy's capable of laying hands on her, and injecting her with drugs.
Yeah.
When you compare those two,
I don't think he was injecting her with drugs. I think she was taking drugs.
Well,
he is laying hands on her, but
we got to remember that
you said you don't think that he was.
So the information that I've seen released now, like, mind you, Diddy a nasty man, and I hate to be the one to make this argument, but just for the sake of the conversation, right? I'm just making it, playing devil's advocate for the sake of the conversation, just to intellectually engage in something that it could be stimulating, right? I don't think he was forcing her to take those drugs. Per the transcript that's been released, she was contacting a person on his behalf that had the drugs, and she knew where to get them. So she was willingly going to get the drugs from that person, from what I read.
Well, what I read, some of the drugs was working as a way to enhance in your endurance, so you could stay up over several nights to do sexual.
Hey, Darwin, let me just tell you, there's a very high percentage of people who take drugs to enhance a sexual experience, whether it be weed, whether it be perks, whether it be X, or any of the all of them. That's just a thing, right? People do that. That's a lot.
The question is it?
I do want to get some other ladies in there too, y'all. Let's get
drug consumption involuntarily during the situations, especially when you combine that with his will to use his physical abuse to get his way. When you combine that with the drugs, is it beyond the realm of possibility that combination was used in a way to push her out of capacity to use her own discretion in some of the situations?
Right.
We can get Sports Com and Empress to answer that. Get them
Lapeef, real quick, Lapeef, can we get the context of just so that we can just at least get the context before they answer? I'm pretty sure they're trying to put a RICO on him, right? So that means that they're not just trying to say, oh, you was mean. They're trying to paint a picture that he is a kingpin and he's basically calling shots. If that, they got to prove that in order to really put the RICO on him. So she might be one of their cogs to do that. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah,
have you ever seen a RICO where they only bring one?
We got to get them in there, y'all. I know we're going to keep talking. We got to get them in there. Go ahead, Sports Com and Empress.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick, I'm being perfectly honest. I have not been following this that deeply, just because we literally just finished our program. So I don't want to throw anything out there that I don't really know too much about. I haven't really read the transcripts. I've gone on social media. I've seen stories. I think it's horrible what she went through, but I really can't speak to it to that extent because I really haven't been completely locked in. And there's been a lot going on between that, Meg Thee Stallion, and what else? What's the third story that came out?
DDG and Hallie.
And Hallie. And then we have a mess in Washington, D.C. where we live. So
yeah. Trades and everything, Saudi Arabia, all this stuff.
Yeah.
For a news cycle, there's a whole lot going on. I don't know. So like, I never did no Diddy shit in my life, but let me start out with that. But I did used to hoop, and like those type of like a party where you have a sexual experience, it's possible. So now, is everybody that had these sexual experiences going to be drugged in? You know what I'm saying? Because it seemed like they put in his, like, I wouldn't do the shit he doing, but it seemed like his sexual life is the thing that he being convicted on, and the tape. Now that tape should have got him jail time if they would have got it in there in time, right before the statute of limitations expired. But after that, I haven't seen it. It's nasty. All the stuff they showing is him being a nasty, scummy freak. But I'm still trying to figure out. Maybe somebody can educate me where they feel the actual crime that constitutes the RICO occurred.
So what they're trying to say, this is what his charges is basically. They're saying he's being charged with racketeering, conspiracy, 2 charges of sex trafficking, 2 charges of transportation to engage in prostitution. Many of the most severe allegations related to racketeering conspiracy charges, including accusations of kidnapping, drugging, and coercing women into sexual activity, sometimes using firearms or threats of violence. This can include he has over almost 100 women that have came out and said that he essayed them and raped them. So I think
when those women come out, then I'm
thinking that that's what I'm saying. Like the Cassie situation, it sounds more like she's the opening for a character witness more so than what we're about to see. Because they said this trial could last up to 8 weeks. I'm just like, I'm not about to hang my hat on what Cassie experienced to be like, because we did see a video of her being beat on. So it's kind of hard for me to try to really talk about that. I mean, we got
so here go the thing, like dealing with a RICO case, right? The Racketeering and Criminal Influence Act or organization is you have to have at least 2 people working for you committing crimes. Now, if they making the argument that Diddy had 2 people go buy drugs to bring to the party, if that's what they building the RICO off of, it's a lot of people going to jail. Like if you call your homeboy and say, "Hey Joe, bring the weed," and then you in the state where weed is illegal, or you know what I'm saying, or you pay for bottle service, or matter of fact, a bachelor party. If you pay for strippers to come to the bachelor party in Illinois and you in Indiana, and they cross that state line, and then you call somebody else and say, "Hey, bring some weed," and they bring the weed and it's illegal in Indiana, you have just committed a RICO charge the way they kind of, at this point, the way it's kind of
where's the
money how they framing it,
Where's the money coming from? Is the money coming from record label revenue and all that? That's when you start tying in the money coming in from there, and then the drugs. Are you using drugs off? If you're using that fund to purchase drugs, and now you got a racket. You got racketeering.
But that's my point. All of the industry does that, so everybody gonna get pulled in on the RICO. Like,
I think that's what the prosecutors just hope to the outcome that they
exactly
hope
what they're shooting for.
A lot of people are going to get brought into this case, whether they like it or not, as much as they
can
try
tie
to
those transactions into that and make the money dirty.
Yeah.
And
so all black reforms
1,000 bottles of baby oil. Where'd you get it from? Where'd you source it from? Just because it looked like it's hidden in plain sight. So that is a
baby oil?
Yeah, it wasn't baby oil, okay? It
was baby oil.
So me and Marcus had a debate on this because I thought the baby oil was actually drugs. But then when you started hearing some of the testimony, I was like, hey, yeah, Marcus, you might be right, man. This dude.
Yeah, he got 10 beautiful big booty women, sprayed them all with baby
No,
oil.
that
and he
is
be
it was
ripping
filled
and
with
having freak
something
offs.
different substance. Come on, you guys know that.
I
What was
believe
some of
the
the,
same
what was some
thing,
of the
but
details what was some of the details of that Cassie named
they
out?
was
Did
talking
anybody
about
know that?
baby oil parties, like they had them wrestling
I heard
and baby
I
oil
heard
and
it was more
whatnot,
graphic
schools
than
full
that
of it.
though.
Yeah.
I heard one thing where she said she got
Urinated.
Urinated on. Yeah.
I heard worse, but I don't
She
even know
said,
if I can say it.
I
And I
think
think
one of
she
the
went 4 days straight.
was her asking for somebody to urinate in her mouth, like requesting it. Per the text messages. He was asking her, "Are you ready to go to the freak off?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'm always down for a freak off." Like
She
in
said
the
that in
text
the
message.
text.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I do.
there are some damning text messages. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's a
Oh
lot of
shit,
stuff
that
that is,
changes things.
But I
but
do think that back to Darwin's point, you can't necessarily say that out of a 10-year relationship that even if he only drugged her 4 times, and the rest of the time she went and got her own, she went and did it herself. Like she can be down with the freak offs, but maybe one day he was like, he wanted her to do it with somebody she didn't want to do it with. And he like, yo, you got to do it with him anyway. He my friend. You got to do it with him. So
He
I
probably
think
did
that's
this
fair
signal
too.
too. You got to do it with him.
No, I'm saying as soon as violence is into the equation, then it's definitely a crime committed. What I'm trying to figure out is how are we saying coercion exists with power?
Was Drewski in it?
When people entertain these, like, because I think a major contingent on this case is going to be them proving that his influence is coercion in itself, just being his influence. So him just being famous was enough that a woman wouldn't want to leave him because she would.
Nah,
would
they said
that's
said Diddy
all.
had hands for a woman.
Yeah, they said he
Yeah, I
was.
don't think
They
that.
said he was doing a whole lot more than just.
Yeah.
Because even
I'm just going on what I've seen so far.
yeah, even at
Not
first when I had the same mindset as Marcus when I first, like, before all this came out and they were talking, I'm like, I personally did not believe. I'm like, ain't no way somebody like Diddy has to go out his way. Like, you could just say, hey, look, you could just put online, I'm throwing a party, and every stripper on every corner of the earth is gonna show up to that party. All you do is tell them this is who's gonna be here. It's a lot of whales in here. Come do your job. But if they add in the threatening part and all of that, then okay, I can see where it comes into play. But if, like Marcus said, if they're just trying to use the fact that Diddy's rich and he's powerful, and all of these women are saying like, well, no, and they start asking them like, well, did he hit you? Well, no, I actually did want to do it, but well, did he threaten you? Well, no, he really didn't threaten me.
So what is this thing?
So
about
they
Diddy?
saying the threat is if he so I'm just in a hypothetical argument I'm making. We all agree that if actual abuse occurred, then it's a wrap, right? But if in the hypothetical argument he said, I bought you a Benz. If you don't want to come to the freak off, then I just want my Benz back and we can go our separate ways. Is that enough coercion to convict him of racketeering?
I don't agree. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't agree that should be right. Nah.
Ladies,
No,
just
that's
what
not-
just
I don't think that's what the issue is. I think his coercion is on the lines of some of the rumors of like sending two guys built like officer tackles, breaking your house and oil you down and bust you down. And
that's not. I don't think that's
Yeah.
They're trying to. They were trying to say he leveraged his. Remember, she had a 10-album deal, and they're trying to say he leveraged that, where she only came out with like one, right?
Oh.
And she was like real souped about some premiere she was about to go
got
to.
bills
And
to
one
pay.
of the
That's
instances
deep.
happening.
So
There's a
I
lot
can
of
see
ways
how they
you can leverage.
I can see how they can influence that, because then you could say like your boss is saying you have to do this.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah.
Look at
And then they have
though.
a legally binding contract too. So that
Yeah.
right there could be where they try to make it stick.
Look who Diddy was in bed
Pause.
with, but not literally. Like, look who he was networking with. Like, if you cross him or you don't fill his request, and you might not get a deal with nobody in the industry. Period.
I do want to bring in
Of a successful artist. Artist success ain't the same as somebody having to work at
Because look
like,
what happened
if
to LOX and who was that? Styles P and all them trying to get they was trying to get their label, I guess, ownership of their music or some shit, and he wouldn't even.
Yeah, they were trying to get their masters back.
They want the masters.
I do want to bring up the husband. I do want to bring up the husband in this because I believe in most cases that it may be difficult being him right now. I've had conversations with folks and they said that she's writing a book and I guess he was supposed to be the one reading it. So he may be aware of everything that has gone on. So maybe all of this news is not news to him. I've heard situations where I don't know if he was asked to leave, but came back in and he was mean mugging Diddy. He was doing his hands in different gestures that we just seen on the panel. So what are you guys' thoughts about the husband?
I heard he met her.
I think it would be extremely hard for me to go in a courtroom and hear somebody talking about pissing in my wife's mouth.
Bro,
I don't think
I don't even know how you could go like.
Didn't he meet her at the freak off?
He did. Yeah, he was a part. He was the trainer. He was a part of all that. Yeah, he was a part of all that shit too.
If he already wifed it, he built for all of it.
Man,
Like he built for all of this because
he might just be there for the 30 million for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, he saw all of that, but I'm gonna be honest. Ain't no way you could tell me that you had bumps on your mouth and how much motherfuckers pissed in your mouth and everything, and how much nut you was gobbling, and then I'll be able to kiss you in the mouth later on. Like that's wow.
How long they been married?
My wife
feel
been
bad
up all the time, so I don't know what y'all talking about.
How long they been married?
I'm sorry, but
what you say, white school?
You don't know.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. You don't
People do
know.
know.
It's the worst part when you know. Like you know.
Yeah. When you know, yes, but
he got to sit there and hear all this and be like, wait a minute, you said you got bumps on your tongue?
That can't be the worst of what happened, just to piss, man.
Wait a minute, you said you was gargling? Wait a minute.
Oh
you
my
said,
God.
What? Oh, you tripping now.
That's what she said.
I want to have
Ain't no way, bro.
Bro, that's what she said under oath, man. Bro. That's what she said.
What? Wow.
That is man. Hey, that's nasty work.
You talking about like mouthwash gargle?
Yeah, mouthwash gargle.
Bruh. So she was in that motherfucker.
Man, she was a,
hey,
she
bro,
was a,
what
she
you
was
mean?
a toilet bowl for 3 days straight, man. A toilet bowl for 3 days straight. That is wild.
That's a specific kink that a lot of people are into, man. That you know.
Them white boys built different. They can handle it.
I'm just trying to figure out how can you even get yourself to take a piss while you on a line?
That makes sense.
God.
Well, I mean, if you're on extreme hard on, how are you even pissing? Like biologically,
you can't. Yeah, no, you can't.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't even understand these dudes.
You can.
No, you can't.
You can. It's just hard. It's
on
just
extreme
like
hard on, bro. The next thing coming out is a nut.
Yeah.
Well, you probably got the order reversed. You know what I'm saying? He probably.
Oh, they probably.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Because you have to after. You know what I mean? That's the first thing is the after pee. You know what I'm saying? So she probably, you know.
What you talking about, man?
Got the hot sauce.
Y'all don't want to get all in the details, man.
Y'all was there. Like,
yeah, he talking about he got the order wrong. Like you know.
Hey, we need a pause.
Hey, wait,
man.
Time out. When y'all hold on. After y'all done the deed, y'all ain't gotta go hit the can real quick.
Yeah. Trey, you gotta hit the can, yo.
Right.
That'd be a hard one to do. He's spraying everywhere.
Man, say, man.
We'll get to these super chats right quick, man. $5. I know, super sticker. Though Will 499 other cultures found husbands because they actually want to be married. Let's be real. Our women don't want to be married. They like the idea of being married. Thomas 4199 says our sisters are delusional. Truth in reality, undefeated $5 says I take being called sassy by a black woman as a compliment because I know I must have stood on business. I set some boundaries and didn't kiss butts. Truth again, $5 says women don't care about cheating as much as they claim because they would date less desirable men. Basic risk mitigation, less options, lower the chance. Shaka with the $3. The Will 999 also, remember, I don't feel bad for Cassie in the least. She was Diddy's helper when he was tormenting Kim Porter. She was down for the get down till he turned on her. Tough.
I think that's what she could.
part of the
$11,
game
$10.
is
I
this?
think Diddy and Cassie and Sweeney should all go to jail if you ask me. So Diddy,
Word?
Sweeney, what you do?
What the fuck did I do?
They threw me in the indictment.
This nigga threw me in the Diddy party, man. What part of the game? See, man, I'm about to ban your ass too for the day, man. Pause on it. God damn it.
Mr. Voto, the
Pause, bro.
125 foreign currency, they're all strong and independent till it's time to claim coercion. And sue for a bag, it's obvious that Cass was a willing participant. I want to thank everybody that's contributed to the platform, man. I appreciate the love. If you haven't already, hit that like button on your way out. And if you're catching this on the replay, hit the like button. Let's make sure we support each other, man. Give everybody a follow. Show them some love on their platforms and Instagrams, all that good stuff. And catch us next Thursday. Y'all enjoy your weekend, and we are out.